The Knights of the Zodiac shine and marvel. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 176 Birthday Man hangs himself. If Lizzie guessed correctly, the metal pumpkin that was flashing red light rapidly and was about to melt into one piece should be a bomb. Pumpkin bomb. Looking at the pumpkin bomb on the ground, Lizzie and Parker did not move. However, Dr. Connor's assistant behind them suddenly pressed Connors to the ground behind the table with a flexible movement that was completely inconsistent with the nerd. Boom. The bomb really exploded, with broken shrapnel, huge energy, smoke, shock waves, but none of these. Long before the bomb exploded, a golden crystal wall quietly covered it, and unlike the traditional crystal wall, this crystal wall was not a plane, but imitated Shin's crystal robe. The wall was deformed into a sphere and wrapped the pumpkin bomb inside, so the explosion of the entire bomb was just a flash of light, a bang, and then, nothing happened. Unfortunately, the people outside did not know that after the bomb exploded, a weirdo wearing a green battlesuit with an alternative aesthetic and a weird shape flew in from the broken window on a green aircraft with the same design concept. Foolish people, you. The weirdo almost choked on his own saliva. After flying in, he suddenly found that the situation inside was completely different from what he imagined. He knew better than anyone how powerful the pumpkin bomb was. One was enough to blow up this observation room of more than 10 meters square into a rough house. The people inside would also be knocked down. They could only lie on the ground in vain and listen to him recite the opening remarks that he had practiced in front of the mirror for a long time. As a result, the room was as clean as before. The two people stood there and looked at him leisurely, as if they were watching a jumping clown. This development was completely different from what he imagined, so that the Green Goblin's prepared words and actions were all useless. He could only roar wildly in his heart, "Damn, I'm here to rob. Can you guys be a little nervous?" Seeing this weirdo flying in, Lizzie turned around and looked at Harry, who was still on the experimental table in confusion. This green weirdo stepping on the flying machine should be the Green Goblin without a doubt, judging by his appearance, and there is a pumpkin bomb as evidence. But Harry was still lying naked on the lab table, and Norman Osborn's grave was covered with grass. So where did this Green Goblin come from? Could it be that another Green Goblin from the comics that I didn't know appeared? Lizzie had a little doubt in her heart. Ahem. The Green Goblin cleared his throat and tried to reorganize his words, but found that in this awkward situation, he would look stupid no matter what he said. At this time, if you can take action, don't talk. The Green Goblin moved his feet, and two thin gun barrels suddenly extended from the aircraft. Prepare to meet death. Da. Two fire snakes sprayed out from less than 5 meters away from Lizzie and Parker. At the speed of bullets, it would be difficult for the two to completely avoid them at such a close distance. But Parker was not panicked at all, and he didn't even show the spider silk launcher under his sleeve. Without seeing Lizzie make any moves, the crystal wall quietly appeared, not only blocking all the bullets, but also rebounding them back, hitting the Green Goblin and making sparks fly. The Green Goblin emptied his magazine, but found that instead of breaking the light wall that looked like a membrane that could be broken with a poke, he was hit by the reflected bullets and was covered in dirt. If it weren't for the bulletproof Green Goblin suit on his body, he would have been a sieve by now. What kind of technology is this? The Green Goblin looked around the equipment around him, trying to find the instrument that made this light wall. At this moment, a flash of electricity suddenly flashed in the socket next to him, and then a blue figure jumped out of it. A hand stretched out from the blue shadow and grabbed the Green Goblin's neck with lightning speed and pushed him against the wall. With a bang, cracks appeared on the wall. Max's blue face flashing with electric arcs came closer to the Green Goblin less than 10 centimeters away, and his eyes were fierce. "Where did you come from to make trouble here? You think your life is too long?" The Green Goblin twisted in the air and kicked Max away. He shook his numb neck and flew up again on the skateboard. The sealed metal armor he wore blocked Max's electric arc. His body did not receive much damage, but he was a little frightened. "Electro, I didn't expect you to be here," The Green Goblin turned the muzzle of the skateboard towards Max. "It turns out that all this was caused by you." Almost instantly, the Green Goblin felt that he had figured out one thing. The light tool just now should be the ability of the Electro, using the electromagnetic field to create a barrier that can block bullets from passing through, and bounce them back without reducing the potential energy of the bullets. After figuring this out, the Green Goblin secretly cheered for Max in his heart. Why hadn't he thought of such a genius idea before? He would study it carefully when he returned. If this technology was used on the Green Goblin armor, it would definitely increase his combat power by a large part. Max ignored the Green Goblin's shouting and floated to Parker's side. "What happened? Where did this ugly guy come from?" Parker shook his head. "We don't know very well. Until now, we don't know what he is doing here." Bang! The door on the other side was pushed open, and Gwen, Jessica and Wang Bingbing pushed the door and ran in, followed by several researchers. The explosion just now startled them. What happened? Who is this? The moment Gwen and Jessica found the Green Goblin, they subconsciously wanted to attack. Neither of them was a good girl, but soon they both gave up the idea of attacking directly. Gwen believed in Lizian, who looked calm and relaxed. All dangers in front of him were just children's play. Jessica saw Electro at the scene. Trusting him was one aspect, but not wanting Parker to think that she was a violent woman was the main reason. The Green Goblin had no idea of his current situation. In one room, there were Spider-Man, Electro, Ghost Spider, the new name of Spider-Gwen in the comics, Jessica Jones, and Saint Lizian, and he still felt that he had one. If one were to describe the Green Goblin's actions in one sentence, Lizian could only say the old man is hanging himself. He is tired of living. Seeing so many people in the room, the Green Goblin laughed wildly. "Ha ha ha, good thing you came, Electro. Don't you want to save people?" "I want to see how many people you can save today." Max shrugged and said in a flat tone, "The people here don't need me to save them. I just need to beat you up." "Oh, the hero of New York, Electro, would actually watch someone die without saving him?" The Green Goblin tilted his head with a neurotic look. He obviously misunderstood what Electro meant. "Or do you think that with that wall of light there, you can rest easy? Don't move." A burst of shouting suddenly came from behind Lizian and the others. He turned around and found that the researchers who followed Gwen and the others had pulled out their guns and pointed them at the back of Gwen's heads. Similarly, Dr. Connor's temple was pointed at by his assistant with a pistol. He. The Green Goblin laughed like a ghost. "Electro, the hero of New York, do you understand your situation now? Please ask for something." Chapter 177 Dung Beetle Demon. Although he didn't know the situation of Gwen and Jessica Jones, Max knew that as long as he was there, this ugly guy like a dung beetle would definitely not get any benefit today. What's more, there were two people beside him, Parker and Lizian, whose abilities were not much worse than his. In his own opinion, it would be difficult for this dung beetle monster to get out of here alive today. As for those fake researchers with guns, they were just chickens and dogs. The Green Goblin was the one who really didn't understand his situation. As the person in charge of the Holy Grail Company, Lizian felt that he should say something at this time. If he wanted to fight or kill, he had to figure out the other party's purpose first. "I am the boss of the Holy Grail, sir. I don't know what you want to do by coming here so aggressively." The Green Goblin turned his head. "Don't you know my purpose?" "Oh, I almost forgot. I was about to say it but you interrupted me." Lizian grinned. "No one except Max had talked to you just now, so who interrupted you?" "You're the boss." "That's perfect." The Green Goblin moved closer, less than 2 meters in front of Lizian, lowered his head and said viciously, "I'm officially informing you that from today on, your researchers and technology no longer belong to you. They've been requisitioned." Max was worried about the Green Goblin. Lizian was a man who could fight the Hulk to a draw in close combat. It's not an exaggeration to say that he was invincible in close combat. "You're really ignorant and fearless, dung beetle." Lizian scratched his head. "Is this considered robbery?" "Whatever you want to understand," the Green Goblin said with a smile. "Those beautiful girls in the back are your friends. It's a pity if they die so young and beautiful. Think about it carefully. I'll give you 5 minutes to make a decision. Agree, or say goodbye to them." Lizian smiled. 5 minutes. You're really generous. Can we discuss it? Whatever you want. The Green Goblin agreed generously. Turning around, Lazia started discussing with Parker. Peter, you said that our company's products have just been developed and have not yet been launched on the market, but someone has come to us and wanted to take them for themselves. If we open up sales in the future and the reputation spreads, won't there be more people coveting them? By then, we can't be here 24 hours a day. The security issue is really a big problem. Parker thought for a while and replied, that's not the case. Look, Stark Industries weapons are in a leading position in the industry, and the Iron Man suit has made the military commission salivate, but these people dare not pay attention to Stark Industries. Why? Lazia nodded. What you said makes sense. Before Tony admitted that he was Iron Man, Stark Industries had already made itself a giant enterprise through years of operation, and it also had close ties with many organizations and departments. With so many people and the identity of Iron Man backing them up, those who want to take advantage of them have to think carefully. Parker sighed. So, the reputation of the Holy Grail is still not enough. Let's grow and develop slowly first. Lazia glanced at Max and said with an idea, what do you think about letting Max's Electro endorse the Holy Grail? Everyone knows that Electro is in the same league as Spider-Man and the Saint Seiya. With him their endorsement, no one will dare to mess with the Holy Grail. Parker also looked at Max. Maybe we can try, but the effect remains to be verified. Max saw the two looking at him and rolled his eyes. What do you want to verify? Just ask and you'll know. Hey, Max shouted to the Green Goblin. Dung Beetle, if you knew that this company is protected by Spider-Man and me, would you still bargain with such fanfare? The Green Goblin sighed. You really don't take me seriously. It seems that I'm still too kind. Do you really think I'm here to play house with you? You won't feel scared if no one dies. Let me guess. Which of these girls is your closest person? The Green Goblin turned his gaze to Wang Bingbing, who has an Asian face. This girl and the boss are both from China. Okay. It's you. Do it. The last two words were obviously said to the people holding guns behind the girl. The Green Goblin's choice was very tricky. Among all the people present, except for Dr. Connors who would definitely not get into trouble, only Wang Bingbing, a Chinese, was an ordinary person. In addition, both Gwen and Jessica had the ability to deal with the Green Goblin, and dealing with ordinary people was a piece of cake. Earlier, when the three girls were pointed at their heads with guns, Lazia and Parker were still in the mood to chat, because they had the confidence that even if the other party fired at the same time, they could save everyone. The crystal wall is not a joke. Under the Green Goblin's order, the person behind Wang Bingbing pulled the trigger without hesitation. Lazia did not move at this time because he found something interesting. Just as the person behind Wang Bingbing pulled the trigger, a finger suddenly and accurately inserted into the back of the trigger, pinning his finger. And then the person's wrist was suddenly bent back, and the huge force directly broke his wrist, and the bones were pierced out. Ah! The man was about to scream, but the pistol was already stuffed into his mouth. Bang! The bullet swirled out from behind his head, spilling scarlet on the wall. Wang Bingbing shot the enemy behind him, then turned around and pulled the trigger continuously. Bang! 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 After a few shots, Gwen, Jessica and even the gunman behind Dr. Connors were all shot in the middle of their eyebrows and fell face up. Wang Bingbing pointed the still smoking muzzle at the Green Goblin's eyes, and said in a cold voice, Dung Beetle monster, who told you that the Chinese are easy to bully? The backup plan that was arranged in advance has not come into play, and they were all killed. The shadow area in the Green Goblin's heart is a bit large. He subconsciously asked, who are you? Wang Bingbing tilted his head and looked at the crosshairs. My name is Wang Bingbing. You can also call me Ada Wang according to your habit. Hearing this name coming out of Wang Bingbing's mouth, Lazia instantly got goosebumps. Damn, it appeared. She is really called Ada Wang, and she is also an expert in gunmanship. She looks exactly like Li Lianhua. There is no such thing as that, Peter. Lazia's voice was a little trembling. Parker noticed that Lazia's voice was not right, and asked quickly, what's wrong? Lazia swallowed her saliva. Call Hyde and ask her to help me find a company, a multinational company that makes drugs, medical hardware, and defense industries. It's called Umbrella. Parker picked up the phone and quickly answered Hyde's call. Hello, Sky, this is Parker. Can you help me check? Lizzie grabbed Parker. What did you call her? Sky, Hyde's new ID. Please support me. Please merge with me. Please P. I have been a professional foot picker for 20 years. I am definitely a man with taste. Come and fight if you don't agree. Chapter 178 Confession. The appearance of the Green Goblin was destined to be a farce from the beginning. In fact, in today's New York, no one or team can take down the Holy Grail Company controlled by Lizzie and others from the front. Even the Avengers, who are about to be formed, may not be able to help. If the Green Goblin armed all the Dr. Octopus suits and Rhino Warrior suits in the underground warehouse of the Osborn Group and launched a surprise attack together, he might be able to cause some trouble for Lizzie and others. As a result, he came alone, which was simply asking for trouble. He worked hard to get undercover in the Holy Grail, but was easily solved by a little girl who looked weak and vulnerable. Looking at Wang Bingbing's shooting skills that hit the center of the eyebrows, she is definitely an old hand with guns, and it is even possible that she has killed people. To be honest, Lizzie was really scared by Wang Bingbing. Even though Parker reported that no information about Umbrella was found, he still felt a little uneasy. Who knows if Umbrella is hiding somewhere under another name, quietly waiting for the day when it will change the world with a blockbuster. Let's imagine pessimistically, if Umbrella has any connection with Hydra, with General Ludendorff's means of plain virus warfare, this world may not be good. Sorry, I'm out of character. What happened? Everyone was silent, and the door of the laboratory next to them suddenly opened, and Harry walked out with his upper body naked. Compared with before he went to the laboratory table, Harry's appearance has changed a lot. Before, he was a white and soft young man, with a body of rib meat and a little face. Compared with the identity of a rich second generation, he was more like a PG seller. When he pushed the door out at this time, not only did his muscles bulge a lot more than before, but even his skeleton became a lot bigger. But the biggest change was his face. To be honest, for a moment, Lizzie thought he saw the savior of the end of the century Kenjiro, covering his face and laughing and crying. The style of Fist of the North Star is originally European and American. No one expected that the lizard serum that strengthened physical fitness would not only change Harry's body, but also his style. Harry, are you okay? Parker looked at Harry, who was originally shorter than him by a head but now half a head taller, and suddenly felt a little scared. If he had become like this after being bitten by a spider, I wonder if Jessica would still have a crush on him. Harry looked down at his chest and fists, and said with certainty, I'm fine, and I've never felt so good. Look, am I much stronger now than before? Hey, it seems that I'm taller than you. Barefoot Harry smiled and compared his nose with the top of Parker's head. He finally surpassed Parker, his childhood playmate, in all aspects. Yes, Parker grinned and nodded like an old man with dementia, but in his heart he was thinking about how to explain to MJ. I took your girlfriend away and gave you a man? I guess MJ will be very happy tonight. You are Harry? The Green Goblin's voice became a little trembling, and everyone could almost feel the naked greed in his eyes when he looked at Harry. Harry looked at the green monster in the air as the voice sounded. The bodies lying on the ground were obviously related to the green monster. It was not difficult to tell who was the enemy from the positions of him and Electro. Yes, I am Harry Osborn, but I am no longer the same person I used to be. Do you want to rob here, Dung Beetle? With Electro and I here, you can't succeed. Turning to look at Max, Harry shouted heroically, Electro, aren't Spider-Man and Saint Seiya here? It seems that we need to team up today. New York City is about to welcome a new Guardian combination. Humphrey, you are lucky this time, the Green Goblin said to Lizzie. Not every time there will be so many heroes here to help you. Let's wait and see. After speaking, the Green Goblin glanced at Harry and turned the aircraft to fly towards the broken window. He had to evacuate quickly because of his unfavorable situation, hoping to make a comeback next time. But with so many superheroes in the room, Who would give him a chance to make a comeback? Whoosh, whoosh. Two spider silks shot out and stuck to the Green Goblin's flying machine from two directions. Parker and Gwen exerted their strength at the same time, instantly offsetting the impact of the flying machine and pulling him back from the window. Before Harry could make any move, Jessica suddenly rushed up and punched the Green Goblin with her fists. With a bang, the Green Goblin flew out directly as if he was hit by a train, and bounced back after hitting the golden crystal wall of the window. With a flash of lightning, Max dodged directly and tapped the Green Goblin's broken helmet with one finger. Zeal! The Green Goblin kicked his legs and hardened. Before Harry could take a step, Wang Bingbing's gun was still in his hand. They watched the Green Goblin being raped like a mouse surrounded by a bunch of cats. "You! Who are you guys?" Harry's irritable fists were nowhere to be found. The Green Goblin was already lying down, and there was no chance for him to get close to the boss. The observation room suddenly became quiet, and everyone's mood was complicated. Jessica didn't know that Parker was Spider-Man. Jessica didn't know that Gwen was Ghost Spider. Parker and Gwen didn't know that Jessica had superpowers. Each of them was trying hard to hide the little secrets in their hearts, fearing that revealing them would hurt their friendship. However, they didn't expect that when they couldn't help but reveal their secrets, they found that the person they had concealed before had the same secret. Harry was the one who was hit the hardest, because he didn't know all this. When he came down from the experimental table, he thought he had gained the ability to look down on his entire circle of friends, but he found that in the end, he was still the weakest one. No, there was also Lizian, who didn't reveal any abilities. He should be an ordinary person. Harry looked at Lizian with some pleading, but he didn't expect Lizian to directly stretch out his hand. "Okay, since everyone is no longer hiding, then I'll just say it directly. I'm a Saint Seiya." A golden crystal wall appeared in his hand, and then disappeared. Harry almost vomited blood. Saint Seiya. How could this guy who looked so weak be a Saint Seiya? After Lizian finished speaking, she turned to look at Wang Bingbing. "Classmate Ada, you should be more than just a female classmate without a story, right?" Wang Bingbing nodded. "Yes, I also have a hidden identity, but I can only tell you my identity, Dean. By the way, the plot of Resident Evil will not appear here. Ada Wong's name and appearance are just borrowed here, and her identity has been arranged elsewhere." Chapter 179. My cousin, Dean came out. Lizian knew what was going on. Before returning from China, Zheng Xian had said that he had arranged an assistant for Lizian, who could help him deal with some matters that were not convenient for him to handle, and to help him contact the Shinmao Bureau. Lizian had always thought that such an assistant would be a middle-aged housekeeper or a retired soldier. Zheng Xian, an old bachelor, had only such a social circle, but he did not expect that he would send a girl who was about the same age as him, with a top-notch figure and appearance, and even entered the Imperial State University. "Were you introduced by Brother B?" The lower half of the words "Yan is B," and Lizian asked this deliberately. Wang Bingbing nodded. "Brother B is my brother-in-law." The two sentences were of no standard, and after confirming with each other's eyes, this was the right person. Lizian sighed. "I really didn't expect it to be you. I thought you were." "What about me?" Wang Bingbing looked at Gwen and said with a smile, "It's your blessing to have such a beautiful girlfriend like Ms. Gwen." "How dare I have such wishful thinking?" Seeing the subtle expressions of the two, Gwen quietly poked Parker next to her. "Peter, what are they talking about?" Lizian and Wang Bingbing were speaking Chinese. Gwen was busy with experiments recently and her Chinese tutoring speed was not as fast as Parker, so she couldn't understand a little. Parker rolled his eyes. "Ada said that she is Lizian's cousin." "What?" Gwen couldn't understand. "Isn't Zai an orphan? How can she be a cousin?" Parker shrugged. He couldn't say anything nonsense. Wang Bingbing's idiom wishful thinking was too ambiguous, which made Parker a little jealous. If Parker knew that there were tens of millions of young girls and wives who were wishful thinking about Lizian on the other side of the ocean, I wonder how he would feel. "Zian, can you introduce us to your cousin?" Gwen smiled and walked to Lizian, and took his arm inconspicuously. "Cousin?" Lizian looked at Parker who kept winking at him, and rolled his eyes helplessly. "Why are you adding a character to me? I'm an orphan, how could I have a cousin?" Parker shrugged. "It's better to say cousin than secret admirer." "Brother, you are dreaming. I have learned this idiom. Lazai was so angry that he wanted to hit him. It was just a courtesy. You took it seriously. Aren't you a top student? It's so simple and you can't see it? Parker shook his head. I'm sorry, I really didn't see it. Gwen gently pinched Lazai's arm. Oh, Lazai retracted her gaze. It's like this. When I returned to China, I lived in a friend's house. Ada was that friend's sister, so I followed suit and called her my cousin. Right, Ada? Wang Bingbing nodded. Yeah, that's it. But cousin, why are you? Gwen frowned and made a gun-raising gesture. Wang Bingbing wanted to continue explaining seriously, but Lazai interrupted her. It's normal for Chinese people to know kung fu, okay? Just know that she is not an outsider. There is no need to ask so clearly. Everyone has their own secrets, right? Gwen stopped asking after being lightly rebuked by Lazai. She didn't have to pry into other people's privacy, but was afraid that Lazai would lie. Since he was so sure, there would be no problem. Lazai was right. In the eyes of many Americans, it is very common for Chinese people to know kung fu. The discussion about Wang Bingbing came to an end, and the topic returned to the invading Green Goblin. After knowing that everyone had extraordinary abilities, the atmosphere in the room became much more lively. After not having to hide themselves from their best friends, everyone became relaxed. As everyone was talking and laughing, the Green Goblin on the ground suddenly woke up slowly, supporting himself with his hands and slowly sitting up. Max had just knocked him out with an electric shock, and he would not kill him easily before figuring out his identity. Besides, Parker had always been against killing people. The Green Goblin was still a little dizzy when he woke up. His nerves were still numb from Max's electric shock. He just opened his eyes to see what was happening in front of him, but suddenly heard a loud roar. Let me do it. Then a big foot kicked him hard on the head, and with a bang, the Green Goblin's world turned dark again. This kick not only kicked off the Green Goblin's helmet, but also knocked him out again. After Harry succeeded in his attack, he clenched his fist and roared to the sky. The feeling of becoming a superhero to fight against evil was really great. Harry lowered his head and looked at the Green Goblin's face with pride. Let me see what this guy with the mask looks like. When he saw the Green Goblin's appearance clearly, the smile froze on Harry's face. He was very familiar with the face on the ground. It was a face he missed in his childhood but couldn't see. When he grew up, he didn't want to see it but could never see it again. Is he Norman Osborn? Dr. Connors exclaimed. How is it possible? Isn't he dead? How could it be? Harry lowered his head and looked at the unconscious Green Goblin with a complicated expression. He was very familiar with this face. It was exactly the face of his father Norman Osborn on his deathbed. Because of the onset of blood disease, his face was a little deformed. But he saw the doctor take off his father's instruments and declared him dead. Why did he appear again in the form of the Green Goblin, and in the secret place of the Green Goblin's armor? He even found the logo of the Osborn group. Is it really you, Father? Harry reached out to take off the armor on Norman Osborn's body to find more evidence, but was stopped by Lazai. With so many of us here, he can't make any waves. You said before that your father died of the same disease as you. It is very likely that this armor helped him survive and he is still alive today. In the movie, when Harry was injected with spider venom and had an unknown mutation, he looked like he was going to die. He put on this Green Goblin armor with emergency treatment function and turned into the Green Goblin to kill Gwen. If you have any questions, just wake him up and ask him. Old Max, who was called, came forward, and an arc of electricity lit up on his hand. The arc slowly penetrated into Norman Osborn's body, but after a moment he shook violently and woke up. As soon as he opened his eyes, Norman Osborn saw Harry's face with a sudden change in style. Huh, Harry, are you Harry? Harry's nose was a little sour. No matter how bad Norman Osborn was to him, he was still his father after all, and the starting point of those actions was also good. After the experience of losing his father once, he was able to understand his father's difficulties to some extent. Now that he has found his father again, he feels very fortunate. Father, I'm Harry. How could you? Norman Osborn looked at the superheroes in the room and reluctantly admitted his failure. My life is a tragedy. 2 fan art images were uploaded to Gwen on the app. but it seems that they didn't pass the review. Chapter 180 A Promise. Norman Osborn created the Osborn Group, a giant multinational company that spans multiple fields such as national defense technology, biomedicine and chemical technology. With a market value of hundreds of billions of dollars, Norman Osborn himself has made outstanding contributions in various fields. However, such a great man personally admitted that his life was a tragedy. All this stems from the blood disease inherited from their family, a rare disease that begins to attack at around the age of 20 and gradually transforms the entire body into a monster. Norman Osborn has been trying every possible way to find a cure for a blood disease throughout his life. Originally, more than a decade ago, he had almost found the treatment he had dreamed of, but in the end, he was betrayed by Richard Parker, a scientist he funded, and the experimental results that were within his reach disappeared with the death of Richard Parker. Over the next decade, the remaining scientists followed the path that Richard Parker had taken, but ultimately failed to achieve any results. Norman Osborn could only watch himself die of alienation, and his children would follow in his footsteps in the near future. The feeling of powerlessness towards life made him die in vain. Although Dr. Connors' lizard serum was not completely successful, it gave Norman Osborn hope of life, so he faked his death to escape, wanting to continue the research and experiments of lizard serum in secret, because many things involving human experiments would be restricted by his identity and could not be carried out. After he died, he could conduct his own experiments without legal restrictions. But even so, his experimental progress was still as slow as a turtle, and it could even be said that there was no progress. So after finding out that the Holy Grail Company had developed a series of God's blood products that could regenerate limbs, he brought people to kill Dr. Connors and his research results and kidnapped them back. Unfortunately, his luck was too bad. He accidentally ran into a small gathering of superheroes and almost died again. After listening to Norman Osborn's confession, everyone couldn't help but feel sympathetic. Although his behavior was not worthy of promotion, his experience was sympathetic, especially Parker. When Norman Osborn mentioned that Richard Parker ran away with their research results, he felt as if he had betrayed Harry and felt ashamed. Harry helped Norman up and said with red eyes, "Father, it's okay. The doctor has developed a method to treat blood diseases. You see, I am now completely cured and my body is much stronger. Give us some time, we will definitely cure you." Looking up at Dr. Connors, Harry said in a pleading tone, "Right, doctor?" As a scientific researcher, Dr. Connors instinctively answered with rational thinking, "In theory, yes, as long as there is enough time, we can cultivate suitable genetic organisms and extract effective serum." "Father, you heard it," Harry shouted happily. Norman looked at Dr. Connors and asked, "How long is enough time?" Dr. Connors thought for a while. "If it's short, half a year. If it's long, I can't say for sure." After listening to this, Norman sighed faintly, "I'm afraid I can't wait that long. Even with the help of this suit of armor, I won't live for more than a few months." When everyone heard this, they all trembled inexplicably. There was hope for recovery, and they finally found a way to cure the disease, but his body was not enough to support the moment of recovery. This is really unpredictable. When everyone was sad, Parker looked up at Lizzie and asked with his eyes, "Can you give your water to Harry's father?" Parker knew the existence and efficacy of the Holy Grail, so he thought of Lizzie at the first time. Lizzie didn't want to help Norman Osborn, because before this man was Harry's father, he had another identity that he couldn't get rid of, that is, the Green Goblin. In the film and television works that Lizzie knew, the identity of the Green Goblin has always been an outright villain. Therefore, saving him would be irresponsible to others. But now Parker has begged for mercy, and to be honest, the biological drugs produced by the Osborn Group have saved many lives over the years, so he can save him both publicly and privately. Harry has been saved, so what else is missing is Norman Osborn. Ahem. Lizzie coughed lightly, interrupting everyone's worries. "I have a kind of magic water here that should temporarily alleviate the deterioration of your condition, and maybe it can help you support for half a year. I wonder if Mr. Osborn is interested," Parker added on the side. I can guarantee that what Lazia said is absolutely true. Iron Man Tony Stark has also taken this water before. We are interested, Harry quickly agreed. Lazia, tell us what you need us to do. As long as you can give me the water like my father, I will agree to anything you ask. Lazia nodded. Well, I used this water to exchange 20% of Stark Industries shares with Tony Stark before. Harry naturally didn't believe what Lazia said. In his opinion, Lazia was just raising the price and wanted to take the opportunity to blackmail him. However, although he was a little angry, he still agreed immediately. I will give you 30% of the shares of Osborn Group. The market value of Osborn Group is not much worse than that of Stark Industries. Is this okay? Lazia smiled. I'm not interested in money. The biggest mistake I made in my life was accepting the shares of Stark Industries. At the beginning, I set a small goal and wanted to make 100 million from him. I didn't expect it to turn out like this. In fact, I am just an ordinary person from an ordinary family, and I am also face blind and can't tell whether someone is beautiful or not. Harry shrugged and spread his hands. What on earth do you want to say? Gwen also came up from behind. You said you don't know whether I'm beautiful or not? Lazia quickly apologized. Sorry, I just said it casually. Don't take it seriously. What I mean is, I can give you water, but I don't want your money, but I need a promise. First of all, the serum we provide to Mr. Norman Osborn will be the same as Dr. Connor's. It is only used for physical recovery and will not produce other functional enhancement effects. Secondly, this kind of battle suit, weapons, and aircraft, including their design drawings, need to be handed over, and Mr. Norman Osborn needs to promise not to produce and use these equipment for the rest of his life. After a pause, Harry asked, what else? Lazia spread his hands. Isn't this enough? I have eliminated another villain for the world. Is there anything greater than this? Thank you Yang for the 588 reward. Thank you all for your monthly tickets and recommendation tickets. Gwen's photo has been approved. Everyone go and take a look. That is the image of Gwen in Lazia's eyes. Chapter 181 Staff Meeting. In the conference room, everyone sat in a circle, and Lazia took the main seat to preside over the meeting. Those attending the meeting included Spider-Man Parker, Ghost Spider-Gwen, Jessica Jones, Electro Max, Green Hair Harry, and Cousin Ada Wong. Let me make it clear that my name is Green Goblin, not Green Hair, let alone Green Hood. Harry raised his hand to protest. Although he had just joined the team, he also had the right to express his opinion. Harry had officially joined the Zodiac Guardians. Norman Osborn was sent to Dr. Connor's laboratory, and the confiscated Green Goblin suit was temporarily rented to Harry for use. The usage fee was symbolically $100 million. Lazia didn't want it, but organizing activities also required funds, so he just regarded it as his membership fee. In fact, you can call yourself Green Light Man. Green Goblin feels like a villain, and he wants to electrocute you as soon as he hears it. Max next to him suggested. Harry ignored him directly. I am willing. Max can be said to be the only person who has caused actual harm to the Green Goblin Norman Osborn. Harry selectively ignored his last Bigfoot, so Harry still has a little grudge against him. Wang Bingbing doesn't care. She can be called Cousin Ada Wang or Cousin Wang Bingbing. Even Cousin Wang Nguyen is fine. Lazia patted the table. Okay, everyone, be quiet. Now we're officially starting the meeting. After everyone's attention was diverted, Lazia took out a small notebook and reached out to support the black-framed glasses on the bridge of her nose. I'm very pleased to see everyone gathered together. Most of the people sitting here are students from Midtown High School, with the addition of Venom Agent Thompson who has not yet broken his leg. Midtown High School can be said to have contributed an Avengers Alliance to Marvel on its own, being able to gather these lovely classmates, and even naturalizing villains such as Electro and the Green Goblin who caused countless troubles to Spider-Man Parker in the movie. Lazia's sense of accomplishment is overwhelming. After clearing his throat, Lazia smiled and said, "This is the first meeting of our Zodiac Guardian organization. Before we officially start our meeting, I would like to say a few words first. First of all, I have 3 questions that need to be briefly explained. The first question is divided into 4 aspects. In the first aspect, There are 5 precautions. I will give you 6 angles of the first precaution. The people opposite him already had the urge to overturn the table. 3 questions, 4 aspects, 5 precautions, and 6 angles. By the time you finish talking, the sun will have set. Well, put down your chairs and ashtrays first. Gwen, let go of my neck. Be good. I'm just livening up the atmosphere. Don't rush in like this. Sit down, sit down, sit down. After joking, Lizzie began to get to the point, a serious problem that even the Shield, which holds a huge amount of intelligence and Secret Service agency, is trembling with fear every day. Cosmic Cube. Lizzie wrote this term on the whiteboard behind him. I believe everyone is familiar with the term Cosmic Cube. During World War II, the ambitious Nazi Red Skull and his Hydra organization used this thing to cause great distress and trouble to the US military and Captain America. Everyone nodded. As an enduring hero of World War II, everyone has more or less read some comics and film and television works about Captain America. Even Cousin Wang knew and said that she had seen it and could remember all of Captain America's moves. Okay, the power of the Cosmic Cube may be different from that in the comics. But I can tell you one thing for sure, it is a key that can open the door. Lizzie looked at everyone and said in a deep voice, this door is a portal to an unknown space. A few days ago, I saw the door open with my own eyes at the military's scientific research base, and 2 people walked out of it. Loki and Black Dwarf were written on the whiteboard. Harry answered quickly, I know these 2 names. One is the evil god in Norse mythology, and the other is the final form of the evolution of small and medium-sized stars. The difference is that stars with larger mass will eventually explode into supernovas. He plagiarized this knowledge from Parker when he visited the planetarium before, and used it to pick up girls. Harry, your answer is very good. Lizzie nodded with a smile. There is nothing wrong with what you said, but it is completely different from what I want to say. Ignoring Harry's disgusted expression as if he had eaten a fly, Lizzie continued to explain. First of all, I want to tell you that the gods in Norse mythology are real. To explain it in a way that we can understand, they are more like a group of aliens with extraordinary powers living on a certain planet. And 1,000 years ago or even earlier, they and their enemies once used the Earth as a battlefield to fight. Their battle experience was seen by the Norse people and passed down from mouth to mouth to become today's Norse mythology. Loki is one of them. His physical fitness far exceeds that of Captain America. He is basically invulnerable to swords and guns. Our existing small-caliber weapons find it difficult to cause damage to him, and he also possesses amazing magical abilities. You heard it right. Magic. Giving everyone some time to digest it, Lizzie drew another long bar next to Loki. Report to the teacher. Max raised his hand. Excuse me, why did you draw a 0 bar? Soul Painter Lizzie's face was throbbing with blue veins. Mr. Mai, that is not the totem of your tribe, but a scepter. A scepter. You big-headed ghost. Loki, this idiot. Bah, Loki, this magician, has a scepter given to him by a mysterious person. The scepter can not only emit powerful laser shots, but also control people's hearts. In the military base, it was he who controlled the researchers and agents through the scepter, and then stole the Cosmic Cube. So if you meet him in the future, you must pay attention to his scepter and be careful not to be hit by him. He actually stole the Cosmic Cube in front of you. Aren't you specifically there to protect the Rubik's Cube? Max raised his hand again and mercilessly exposed Lizzie's shortcomings. He was very excited to see Lizzie embarrassed. Lizzie did not argue. Did he have to tell everyone that his original intention was to let Loki open the portal? The reason why I didn't stop him was because this black dwarf was not the celestial body that Harry mentioned, but a monster-like person. He possessed strength and fighting skills that were no less than the Hulk, and he had a weapon in his hand that could withstand my attack. Most importantly, he had a name, Son of Thanos. Chapter 182 Not Targeting Anyone. Subscription request. The term Children of Thanos comes from the movie Avengers 3 Inches by Ebony Maw. The original text is Children of Thanos, which literally means Children of Thanos. Maybe Ebony Maw used such a flattering statement to express his closeness and love for Thanos. To be honest, Ebony Maw, Black Dwarf and others are just Thanos's men. They, together with Proxima Midnight and General Corvus Glaive, who participated in the assassination of Scarlet Witch and Vision, and Superstar, who did not appear in the movie, form the villain team under Thanos, the Obsidian Five. Their strength is unquestionable. Even the seemingly weakest Black Dwarf has the strength to crush most of the heroes on Earth. If the five people cooperate and learn from each other's strengths and weaknesses, they can burst out with more powerful power. Because of the appearance of Lazian, Black Dwarf came to Earth ahead of time, although he was eventually turned into an ice lump by Lazian stuffed into the collapsed portal. His arrival also marked that the direction of the plot has been different from that in the movie. God knows whether Thanos will come to Earth to cause trouble in advance because of the death of Black Dwarf. Well, if a Thanos without gloves comes to Earth to cause destruction, he may not be able to escape unscathed, and there are people on Earth who can resist him. The Supreme Sorcerer knows that Ancient One is still online normally. Although Black Dwarf was defeated by me, we cannot guarantee whether there will be other white dwarfs, red giants and super giants. A black dwarf can block my small universe attack with a weapon. We don't know what different abilities others will have. In short, their danger level is no less than Loki, so you must be careful. Looking at the people below, especially Harry, who has just gained power and has not yet adapted to his identity, and is still in a state of excitement of I have become stronger. Lazian warned, don't think that we can rest easy just because we have the ability. Compared with ordinary people, we are the more dangerous ones, because if aliens want to rule the Earth, we will be the first to bear the brunt of the group they want to kill. Pulling a line from the cosmic cube, Lazian drew the shape of a door. We just said that the cosmic cube can open the door to the unknown space, and Loki's purpose of taking her away, as expected, should be to open that door. So, friends, the war for the Earthlings has begun, and the horn of our Zodiac Guardians should also be blown. The purpose of our organization was to protect the Earth and maintain peace. Now, it is our turn to make our own voice known to the world. Although everyone has passed the age of the most serious Junabiu, out of trust in Lazian, they all chose to stand with him. Fighting against petty theft in the city is not as satisfying as beating up aliens. Especially Harry, who was still in the excitement period, shouted directly, "How long will it take for the door to open? I am already impatient to wait." Others were also eager to try. Seeing their enthusiasm, Lazia's expression became serious. Although the combat effectiveness of the Chitauri was very weak, the situation might not be completely according to the plot in the movie. Moreover, many ants can kill elephants, and many weaklings can also have a certain lethality. Lazian really didn't want to take these people to support the Battle of New York, but in the end, she couldn't bring them back completely. Gwen and Parker are needless to say, even Max and Harry. Lazian was reluctant to sacrifice them. If you raise a dog for a long time, you will have feelings for it, let alone a person. I don't know how long it will take for the door to open, but I do know one thing, with your current weak strength, it will be difficult to come back alive after going to the battlefield. Harry's face changed instantly, and he glared at Lazian with a fierce face like Kanjiro. "If you dare to say I'm trash, you're dead." After a pause, Lazian said to Harry with an apologetic look on her face, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to target you, I just want to say that everyone here, you are all." Poof. Gwen jumped behind Lazian and stretched out her arms to tightly lock his throat. "You bastard, you don't know who you are when I treat you well. If you dare to say that I am trash, I will kill you, believe it or not. Loosen up. Loosen up, I can't breathe with the back of my head." Lazian squeezed her head back into a slippery place and rubbed it hard. Gwen was a little angry. In order to cover up her restlessness, she tightened her grip on Lazia's head even more. "You still have the mind to act like a hooligan. Apologize to me quickly." "It's impossible to apologize." Lazian grabbed Gwen's butt with her backhand and ravaged it twice, and then the whole person suddenly disappeared in Gwen's arms. A few meters away, Lazia's figure quietly appeared by the window. "I know you will be a little unhappy when I say this, but the fact is that this is a war, and war is not a game. So if you can't show better strength and condition, I suggest that you don't go up casually. You have to think clearly. It's not too late to quit now." Lazian didn't want to use her own moral standards to kidnap others. After all, These people were different from the members of the Avengers. The Avengers were either veterans or agents, and even worse, there were gods. The remaining two were researchers, one wearing an invulnerable tin can, and the other was invulnerable, and the people in front of Lazai were no match for them, especially girls like Gwen and Jessica. Although they had obtained extraordinary powers, they had basically never fought with others, and they couldn't even fight well, let alone fight with aliens. Although Parker and Max had rich experience in street fights, they were dealing with some small gangsters and hooligans, at best armed robbers, and they also lacked experience in fighting large-scale armed forces. If they really get to the battlefield, they may not have a higher chance of survival than Wang Bingbing. The air became quiet, and everyone's expressions became serious, but no one wanted to quit. Lazai nodded. Okay, since you have all decided, then in the future, I will train you for a period of time. Although I can't say how much it can help you improve your strength, at least it can help you improve your ability to protect yourself. Gwen pouted and asked unconvincedly, how do you want to train? It's very simple. We will divide into two teams and attack each other. There is no time limit or method limit. We will win until all the other members are knocked down or surrender. How about it? Okay, you decide how to divide the teams. Lazai held up a finger. I will be on one team, and all of you will be on one team. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183 We Win. The night was cold and windy. Lazai was wearing a giant saint suit and stood on the roof of the Osborne Group building. The white cape behind him fluttered in the wind. This 1 vs 6 battle was arranged in New York City at night. The night was to prevent too many people from seeing it. In the city, it was also to take care of Parker and Gwen, two Spider-Men who needed tall buildings to exert their abilities. If they chose a flat ground without even a tree, they would have wasted their time fighting these two. The Osborne Group building is one of the tallest buildings in New York, facing the Stark building that had just been put into use not far away. In the night, Lazai could even see what Tony and Pepper were talking about in the living room with floor-to-ceiling windows. It was not that he liked to be a voyeur, but that the two of them had no intention of avoiding others at all. The Saint Seiya's eyesight was too good, and Lazai was also troubled. After thinking about it, Lazai took out his mobile phone and dialed a number. Yo, you called me in the middle of the night. Are you feeling unwell today, classmate Joseph? Tony's voice soon came from the other side. Haha, Pepper's shirt is very pretty, did you choose it? Lazai replied with a smile. In Stark Tower, Tony looked out the window in confusion. It seems I have to remind you that peeping is not a good habit. Lazai smiled. You are right, so I don't want to continue peeping, but I want to ask you for help. Tony became interested as soon as he heard it. You actually asked someone for help. This is quite interesting. Tell me about it. I will consider whether to help you or not. Not helping you. What the hell? A ray of fire appeared in the sky, and soon Harry, dressed in a Green Goblin suit, stepped on the flying vehicle and arrived outside the Osborne building. Lazai looked around. Are you alone? Harry opened his helmet and said arrogantly, I am enough. Haha, ignorance is bliss. Lazai took out a silver-white mask and put it on his face. The rules of the game have been set. How to play is your freedom, and my task is to let you recognize the truth of this world. Since you are ready, then I will start. After Lazai finished speaking, his body disappeared from the spot, and he moved instantly. Harry was well prepared. Before Lazai disappeared, he started to drive the aircraft and rushed out at a huge acceleration. As Lazai's best friend, Parker knew all of Lazai's abilities. Before this, they had formulated various targeted countermeasures. Lazai's self-confidence is very inflated now. He will definitely want to defeat us cleanly and neatly in the shortest time. When we are away from him, what is the most pretentious skill? Of course, it is teleportation. So, the first step is that we need Harry to act as bait, showing disdain in front of him and mocking him. You are good at these, but you have to be careful. This time must not be too long. Once he is ready to move, you must start the aircraft immediately. Only in this way can you avoid the attack launched after his teleportation. Your aircraft is faster than his, so you need to use speed to deal with him so that he cannot lock your exact position. When Lazia flashed next to Harry's previous position, Harry was no longer there, and at this time a flash of lightning jumped up from below and hit his body accurately. While Harry was talking to attract Lazia's attention, Max quickly approached from his blind spot, waited for him to teleport, and instantly shot him. After that, he used the characteristics of electric current to paralyze him in midair. The lightning attack speed is very fast. If Lazia cannot predict Max's movements, he has no way to avoid it. After being hit by Max's lightning, Lazia's body began to shake unconsciously. Whoosh, whoosh, from the buildings on both sides, 2 white spider silks shot out at high speed, hitting Lazia's wrist accurately. The spider silk pulled his arm, pulling him into a big letter shape in midair. The moment Max succeeded, Gwen and I controlled him with spider silk from both sides. The combined strength of the two of us was not something he could easily break free of, and it was enough to limit his attack and defense methods. At this time, Jessica completed the fatal blow. Bang. In midair, the glass window in front of Lazia was suddenly smashed from the inside, and a figure jumped out from inside at a very fast speed, waving his fist and hitting Lazia with his arms pulled by the spider silk on both sides. Max's lightning attack had not stopped under him. At this time, Lazia could not teleport, and he was about to be hit by a fist. According to the arrogant look that Lazia had boasted before, if he was really hit this time, he would lose. His body was fine, but his face would be embarrassed. He blew so loudly, and then he was hit in the face by someone. How could he continue to play? Question. Gwen once proposed different meanings to Parker's arrangement. Zai once said that there is a trick in his inheritance that will make him stronger after taking off his clothes. Even if we control him at that time, he can take off his holy clothes to deal with Jessica. How can Jessica beat a stronger Lazia? Parker nodded. Yes, there is such a trick. He used it when fighting Hulk in Harlem, but he also said that although his attack became stronger after taking off his holy clothes, it was at the expense of defense. So, this is also the best time for us to break him. If he really takes off his holy clothes, then Ada will need to come on stage. Ada will be responsible for covering with a sniper rifle at a distance of 100 or 200 meters, providing Jessica with a chance to escape. And we will try to trap the holy clothes with spider silk first, so that he will not have the opportunity to put them on again. If we can't control it, we will proceed to plan B. Aida will be responsible for shooting the flying armor parts, preventing him from finishing the dress, and try to buy us time to attack. Parker's arrangement is theoretically fine. He can use the information he knows to kill Lazia with one strike in the shortest time. But there is one thing he doesn't know, that is, Max's electric light actually has a very limited paralyzing effect on Lazia. After experiencing the baptism of Thor's hammer, this amount of electricity is not enough. Moreover, it can be used by Lazia. Jessica rushed to Lazia, and when her fist was about to hit him, an arc of electricity burst out from Lazia's body and hit Jessica's fist directly. In midair, Jessica's body shook, and she lost her momentum and fell down like a kite with a broken string. Harry swooped down quickly and caught Jessica's falling body, while in midair, Parker and Gwen rushed out from both sides, pulling the spider silk and circling around Lazia. Although Max's lightning did not cause any harm to Lazia, it formed a magnetic field that fixed him in the air. In a short while, Parker and Gwen had entangled Lazia into a cocoon wrapped in spider silk with only his head sticking out. After they finished, the two of them flew to the top of the building, and Harry also flew up with Jessica, who was falling. Lazia tried with his arms in midair, and found that he could not break free from the entanglement of spider silk with his own strength. Zia, it's over. Parker looked up and shouted, "If Max lets go now, you will fall from this height of several hundred meters, so we win." Chapter 184. You think too much. In the cocoon in midair, Lazia sighed and said, "It seems that you have done your homework on my ability and you have used your brain." Parker smiled. So you admit your failure? Lazia smiled and shook his head. Have you found a problem? Parker asked in confusion. What problem? You lack the means to kill the enemy with one blow. Lazia's words were correct. Parker and Gwen's main means of attack were spider silk in addition to close combat. They did not have good defense measures for close combat, and the long-range spider silk lacked the ability to break defense and kill. Jessica had the same problem. Although her physical fitness was high, she was not better than Captain America, and she did not have the shield of Captain America that could withstand even Thor's hammer, and she had almost no means of attack. The only ones who had the ability to attack were the two original villains. Max. Needless to say, electric light was his biggest means of attack. He could basically do anything that electricity could do, such as paralysis, penetration, and high-temperature forging. Harry relied on the thermal weapons on the aircraft, including machine guns, flamethrowers, small missiles, and pumpkin bombs. Unfortunately, both the electric light and Harry's thermal weapons were basically ineffective against Lazia. As for the cocoon wrapped around his body, it was nothing. Without seeing Lazia making any movement, a layer of flames ignited on his body, and the spider silk was quickly burned to ashes under the burning flames. Max's electric light had been withdrawn, but Lazia was still motionless in the air. Although I don't want to say it, unfortunately, it seems that you can't cause any harm to me. Max fell back to Parker and turned his head and said, "What should we do? Continue with Plan B?" Parker shook his head. Lazia was right. Their abilities were naturally invincible against ordinary people, but they were not enough to face Lazia's super high defense. Fortunately, Lazia was not an enemy. Okay, stop being dazed. Lazia coughed. Our fight is not over yet. You guys attacked just now. Now it's my turn. I'll show you a simple move first. Lushan Shenglongba. Amid the dragon's roar, the green dragon roared out, brushing against the Osborne building and flew into the sky. Fortunately, everyone was quick and jumped away to avoid the dragon's attack. Although they dodged, several people were scared and broke out in a cold sweat. This is still a simple move. How could it be a sand sculpture if it's not simple? Especially Gwen. She really didn't expect Lazia to use Shenglongba to attack her. Shenglongba is different from Zhulangjou, and it can really kill people if it hits you. Parker shouted. Zian, you're really serious? Lazia shook her head. I said from the beginning that this battle is not limited to any means or time, and it will not be considered a win until all the other players are knocked down or surrender. What? Do you think I just said it casually? But As she was talking, Lazia suddenly tilted her head to the side for no reason. Whoosh! A sniper bullet flew past his helmet. Almost at the same time as the bullet flew past, a gunshot was heard from the rooftop in the distance, and the flames from the muzzle illuminated the face of Wang Bingbing, who was aiming at the side with a sniper rifle. After failing to hit the target, Wang Bingbing did not stop, and the sniper rifle in his hand continued to fire bullets at a speed close to the speed of sound. So Ada is the only one who takes the rules seriously, but it's a pity that she is just an ordinary person. What a pity. Indeed, no matter how capable Wang Bingbing is of anyone here, with her awareness and determination, she can cause a lot of trouble to Lazia. Ignoring the bullets, Lazia moved away from the spot in an instant, and appeared behind Jessica the next second, reaching out his hand knife and gently slashing her neck. First blood. Holding Jessica's unconscious body with one hand, Lazia pointed his index finger into the air, and invisible punches came out from his index finger, and Gwen's spider silk hanging in the air was instantly shot off. This sonic finger is the most basic use of the microcosm. It consumes almost no energy to use, but it is most useful against Spider-Man. The spider silk suddenly broke in midair, causing Gwen to lose her balance and crash uncontrollably into a building nearby. Do you need help? Lazia teleported in front of Gwen and held her body with her hand. Gwen was about to break free, but she felt the temperature around her drop sharply, and soon her body was frozen stiff. I can instantly lower the temperature to below -100 degrees and freeze the enemy into a big ice block. Lazia pointed to a 2-meter-long ice block that appeared next to her. This is you. You've been frozen, you know? Lazia left Gwen behind and faced Harry, who was rushing up. Parker's plan B was to use the speed of Harry and Max to fight Lazia. Although Parker said he gave up, Harry was still unwilling to give up. He urged the aircraft to turn in the air and rush down. "Your courage is commendable, but your knowledge is insufficient." Lazia waved his hand lightly, and with one punch, he could blow up Harry's flying machine. Under the fist of the Saint Seiya, the defense of the flying machine was not much different from Tofu. However, the Green Goblin's flying machine only had this set of samples. If it was broken, it might not be able to catch up with the Battle of New York, so he withdrew his hand halfway and pulled Harry off the flying machine. The flying machine is your advantage and disadvantage, just like Iron Man's iron armor, but in terms of controllability and safety, it is obvious that your flying machine is still a little bit lacking. I wonder if there is any way to improve it. Throwing Harry to the roof, Lazia turned around and stretched out his arm to accurately block Parker's flying kick. Parker failed to hit him, and flew back into the sky with a backflip, and then flew over again with a spider silk. One thing that must be admitted is that as Lazia's strength has been upgraded to the Silver Saint Seiya, Parker has been unable to keep up with him. Before, when there was no Saint Cloth, the two could still fight to a draw, but now Parker can't even break through Lazia's defense. After all, Spider-Man is just a good neighbor of New York, and his battles are highly dependent on the environment, while the Silver Saint Lazia is a nuclear-level force that can flatten a country with one punch. Subduing Parker is just a simple problem, but Lazia found that he might not win this battle tonight, because when he was chasing Parker and others, Max had disappeared. Parker, lying weakly on the side, said weakly, "Plan C, survivor plan. Even if we can't win, at least we haven't lost." It seems that Parker and others are not like Lazia thought, without any concept of rules. Chapter 185, Powerful Foreign Aid. It stands to reason that there shouldn't be this so-called Plan C, 6 people fighting one person and being beaten to the point that they need to use loopholes in the rules to escape in order to ensure that they are undefeated is too embarrassing. But as Lazia said, Parker and the others couldn't break his defense, and it was already very difficult to ensure that they were undefeated. I don't know when it started. Lazia has grown to a height that Parker needs to look up to. He can't even see Lazia's back, but Parker doesn't have any jealousy or dissatisfaction in his heart. No matter how powerful Lazia becomes, in his heart, he is still the good friend who has a crush on a girl with him, who was bullied by others, who worked to earn money together, and who secretly watched Caribbean discs together. Because the reflection of himself in Lazia's eyes that Parker sees is no different from before. So when facing Lazia, he doesn't have any psychological burden, and he won't be ashamed because of his inferior skills or embarrassed because of taking advantage of the rules. After all, their extraordinary powers are obtained through mutation, which has certain limitations. They can't have a complete power system that can continue to improve like Lazia. And Lazia was right. They lacked the means to inflict a fatal blow to the enemy. These were their weaknesses, and they had to accept it humbly when others pointed it out. So, we ended up in a tie. Parker stood up with the help of Lazia's arm, with a little pride on his face. But the problem you mentioned is indeed very serious. I didn't realize it before because I was just fighting criminals, but after facing you, I have a clear understanding. If all aliens have your strength, then we are afraid. If all aliens have my strength, the Earthlings don't even need to fight. They can just surrender directly. Unfortunately, Lazia shook her head, but there is one thing you misunderstood. We didn't end up in a tie. You lost. As soon as the voice fell, a flame flew closer. Iron Man picked up Max and Wang Bingbing in each hand, and flew over with flames on his feet like Astro Boy. By the way, Astro Boy appeared 12 years earlier than Iron Man. With a plop, the two were thrown onto the roof. Iron Man landed on his feet, opened the mask on his head, and greeted Parker with a smile. "Hello, Spider-Man." Parker replied blankly, "Hello, Iron Man, Mr. Tony Stark. Why are you here?" Tony shrugged, pointed at Lazia and said, "He threatened to spy on my and my girlfriend's sex life and forced me to be his foreign aide tonight. Remind you, Mr. Stark, it's private life, not sex life." Lazia rolled her eyes at the side. "I have no interest in your sex life of okay, that lasted less than 3 seconds. Huh?" Tony turned around. You use these adjectives very skillfully. It is generally difficult for people without sufficient life experience to imagine them out of thin air. Can you introduce your girlfriend to me? I want to give her some sincere advice. Gwen hugged Lazia's arm at the side. No need, Mr. Stark. Lazia is very strong. I can prove it. Gwen's generosity made Tony a little embarrassed. If a girl is not shy when flirting with her, it's the man's turn to be embarrassed. But Tony is not a person who is easily embarrassed. The word embarrassment may not exist in his dictionary. Hi, beautiful lady. Tony smiled and greeted Gwen. Thank you for your contribution to this society. I thank you on behalf of the Association for the Protection of the Disabled for making this world less lonely and more caring. Lazia had long experienced how annoying Tony's mouth was, but today she had called him here. Even if he really spit shit, Lazia had to resist the urge to smear him with dog shit and kneel down to let him spit it. Parker frowned and shouted at Lazia, "You are playing tricks, right? Didn't you agree that you would fight the six of us alone? Why did Mr. Iron Man appear as an outsider?" In fact, Lazia called Tony here to let him be a firefighter to help them in case they couldn't control their strength when they started a fire and caused accidental injuries. Unexpectedly, Tony became Lazia's foreign aide in defeating Parker and the others. Until now, Lazia still didn't know how Tony caught Max, a guy who could transform into electricity. Of course, Lazia would not speak out his thoughts directly. What the Zodiac team needs now is not care, but stimulation. Under the leadership of Parker, who is most familiar with Lazia, the team members have become naughty without realizing it. If this continues, they will suffer on the battlefield. Playing tricks? Lazia sneered. I am playing tricks and looking for external help. So what? I have told you a long time ago what kind of enemy we are going to face. Why are your thoughts still stuck in the Middle Ages, thinking that your opponents will have a fair duel between knights with you? Friends, don't be silly. Think about what Loki once said, the ants did not provoke the boots, but the boots would easily step on the ants to death. In their eyes, we are ants. Will you give the ants a chance to fight a fair duel with you? So, the arrival of Iron Man is just to tell you one thing. On the battlefield, nothing is absolute. If you want to protect yourself, you must be flexible and adaptable. Parker stopped talking. Although he didn't quite understand what Lazia said, he felt that what Lazia said seemed to make sense. Okay, that's all I have to say for now. After the battle summary, you can do it on your own. Don't treat this as a game of house. Everyone needs to recognize their own problems. Lazia cleared his throat. Now let's get down to business. After giving the six people in front of him some time to tidy up their lost expressions, Lazia turned to look at Tony. Mr. Iron Man, the people from S.H.I.E.L.D. have already contacted you. Have you read the information? Tony's expression became unusually serious. Yes, I've read it all. The cosmic cube was taken away by that Loki, but you don't have to worry. He can't cause any trouble with me here. It's better to be careful. This Loki is not as simple as we thought. Don't forget, he is the god of pranks and lies behind him, and he's best at playing with people's hearts. Lazia gave a conscientious advice. Tony sneered, just a clown in a costume. Lazia shrugged. Well, now the entire S.H.I.E.L.D. is ready to face a formidable enemy, and has begun to form a superhero team, the Avengers. Since you're here, our team will not join in the fun, but I want you to do us a favor. Tony was just bragging, and Lazia didn't want to argue with him. It was meaningless. Facing the invading aliens, Lazia could choose to go on his own and let the unprepared Zodiac team stay away, so that they could easily avoid the danger of dying in battle. However, if they just hide away when encountering something, the Zodiac team will have no meaning to exist. Spider-Man or Spider-Gwen, in addition to being Lazia's closest people, they are also heroes endowed with superpowers by this world. They have the responsibility to fight with others to protect this world. You can hide on the first day, but you can't hide on the 15th day. The aliens' arrival on Earth is just the beginning. Tony didn't care whether these kids under 20 years old joined S.H.I.E.L.D. or not. S.H.I.E.L.D. had so many people that they didn't need them. Even if they had some abilities, they were just a bunch of green hands. Tony didn't refuse Lazia's request. He raised his chin and agreed. What do you need me to do? Lazia said in a deep voice. Arm them, train them, Just like Spider-Man's Stark-made spider suit in the Marvel Universe, Tony had the ability to equip all his teammates with weapons that suited their abilities, and improve their combat effectiveness by more than one level. The specific operation would require Parker and the others to discuss with Tony. It would probably take some time to make weapons and equipment that suited their abilities and habits. Speaking of which, Osborn Group also had a weapons business. In addition to the Green Goblin suit, their warehouse also had the Dr. Octopus suit and the Rhino Warrior suit that later bullied children on the street. See The Amazing Spider-Man 2 inches for details. But Lazai had no idea of letting Harry and Osborn Group complete this task. Besides the fact that Harry's words might not work in Osborn Group and it was easy to leak secrets. More importantly, the shape and color of Osborn Group's weapons were too bizarre, and they looked like villains. The person who designed weapons and equipment for Osborn Group must have suffered some trauma in his childhood. The weapons and equipment designed by Tony were not only aesthetically pleasing and powerful, but also very easy to use. The relationship between the two was no longer the state of dislike for each other at the beginning. After a series of things, although they still couldn't help but want to mock each other after meeting, something called friendship had also developed between them. This change surprised both of them. As for the training of Parker and others, now they can only be entrusted to Tony. The attack method of the Chitauri is relatively simple, basically only light energy gun shooting, and their physical fitness does not seem to be outstanding. So during this period of time, let Tony help simulate multi-angle light energy attacks and give Parker and others some actual combat exercises to ensure that they can survive in a complex shooting environment. After entrusting a team of inexperienced high-energy children to Tony, Lazai went to the orphanage. After returning from China, he had not had time to go back to see Grandma Joan and Le Bing, and was always delayed by things. Still in the living room at the entrance, Grandma Joan had a thin blanket covering her legs, and looked at the children who were spinning around and making a fuss with gentle eyes. With a kind face, "Grandma, I'm back." Lazai's voice was a little choked. After not seeing each other for more than half a year, Grandma Joan's back seemed to be hunched a little more. "Oh, Lazai, you are finally back. If you don't come back, Bing Bing will run away from home," Grandma Joan said with a smile while holding Lazai's hand. Le Bing had lost her temper with Lazai on the phone before. She had never been away from Lazai for so long since she was a child. She felt abandoned. "It's okay, I'll just have to comfort her. By the way, Grandma, I brought you some gifts from China." Grandma Joan looked at Lazai and smiled happily. At her age, she didn't need the younger generation to be respectful. As long as they could look at her more and talk to her calmly, she would be satisfied. Lazai chatted with Grandma Joan for a while. Time passed quickly and it was soon time to go home from school. The children who went to school in the orphanage came back one after another. Those who knew each other came to greet Lazai. After a long time, Lazai saw a small figure walking in dejectedly with a school bag on his back. Although she lowered her head, Lazai recognized the child at a glance as little Le Bing. Le Bing's mood was as low as usual when she returned to the orphanage. This has been her normal state since Lazai returned to China. Le Bing's mood has been worse than ever in the past few days, because she hasn't received a call from Lazai for many days. She called him but he didn't answer. "Stinky brother, you didn't answer my call. I won't forgive you no matter what. Even if you stand in front of me and explain to me now, I will." When she looked up, Le Bing saw Lazai standing there and smiling at her. "Brother." The moment she saw Lazai's smiling face, all the grievances and complaints disappeared instantly. Le Bing took a step forward and rushed into Lazai's arms. Le Bing naturally chose to forgive Lazai for his long disappearance. Although she was young, she was very sensible. She knew that Lazai was already very tired from saving the world and would not add any more troubles to him. A smile won over little Le Bing, and Lazai began to discuss the issue of traveling to Los Angeles with Grandma Joan. Grandma Joan was a little reluctant. She was not a person who liked to run around, otherwise she would not have guarded this orphanage for her whole life. "Why don't you take the children with you?" "I'm old and my legs are not good, so I won't go with you and cause trouble." How could Lazai agree? Even if the New York battle in the movie didn't reach Queens, a nuclear bomb was launched after all. What if the nuclear bomb didn't get sent into the portal and exploded below? With the power of a nuclear bomb, a dozen kilometers is not a distance at all. This possibility is very small, but it is very likely that a fugitive will slip through the net and run here to cause damage. If Grandma Joan is accidentally injured, Lizzie will feel guilty for the rest of her life. No, if you don't go, we won't have fun. Grandma, please go with us. At Lizzie's instruction, Bing led the children around to join the persuasion and finally persuaded her. The itinerary was booked, and the children who were in school applied for a vacation through the orphanage. In less than 2 days, they had left New York and arrived in Los Angeles on the east coast of the Pacific Ocean. Lizzie had already made arrangements with Little Pepper in advance that the children from the orphanage would be accompanied by someone sent by Stark Industries during their stay in Los Angeles. After arriving in Los Angeles, the children had a great time, but Bing was filled with endless resentment because Lizzie had left after bringing them to Los Angeles for less than a day. It is said that if the monthly pass is not used during the month, it will be invalid after expiration. I am just saying this casually, really. Chapter 186 Uninvited Guests, Subscription Request. After escaping from the Dark Energy Research Base, Loki's team began to prepare for the opening of the space gate. With Barton as the insider, the talents Loki needed were constantly deceived from various agencies of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then controlled by the Mind Scepter, becoming slaves who worked for Loki wholeheartedly. Under the command of Dr. Selvig, everything was proceeding in an orderly manner. However, although things were going smoothly, Loki was still a little dissatisfied, because there was still a person on the Earth who could threaten his actions. Saint Lizzie. When Thor was exiled before, Lizzie messed up the good things. This time, Loki would never let him be a troublemaker again. Of course, if Lizzie could be controlled by the Mind Scepter, Loki would be safe. But this matter needs to be considered in the long run, because Loki once used the scepter to control Barton and Dr. Selvig in front of Lizzie, and it would be difficult to use the same method to make Lizzie fall into the trap. In the clouds of the night sky, a Quinjet fighter was returning. More than an hour ago, they successfully captured Loki in Stuttgart, Germany, but did not find out the whereabouts of the cosmic magic. The current mission was to bring him back to the space carrier for interrogation. The operation to capture Loki was the first meeting between Iron Man Tony Stark and Captain America Steve Rogers. Obviously, their meeting was not very pleasant. One was a veteran of World War II who had been frozen for nearly 70 years and was still upright, and the other was a playboy who did good things out of interest and was born to be beautiful women and sex. Not to mention the generation gap, they were very different in terms of lifestyle and attitude towards life. Sure enough, on the return flight, the two of them had only said less than 5 sentences when they began to have a hint of gunpowder. Seeing the Black Sister in the driver's seat, she had a headache. "Can't you talk properly?" At this moment, lightning suddenly appeared in the sky for no apparent reason. Black Widow quickly changed the subject. "Why is there a sudden thunder?" Under normal circumstances, even if a plane is hit by lightning, as long as the fuel tank is not hit to cause an explosion, there will be no major problems. The safety measures of the Quinjet fighter are even better. Tony and Steve just looked out the window curiously, but Loki's expression suddenly became nervous, like a child who was afraid of thunder. "Why, are you still afraid of thunder?" Steve keenly discovered that something seemed to be wrong. Sure enough, Loki grinned and replied, "I'm afraid of the guy who follows the lightning, a bald guy who likes to discharge electricity in tights and specializes in catching street thugs." Tony tilted his head and thought for a while. "Well, your rock star dress is really no different from a street thug." Tony was talking about the Electric Man who was mixed in New York, but the truth was obviously not like this. The lightning appeared for only a moment, and then there was a clang, and the plane shook obviously, as if something fell on the plane. Tony and Steve quickly armed themselves and prepared to fight against the unknown enemy, and then there was another clang, the plane shook again, and another object fell on the plane. Black Widow could only seriously guard the plane to prevent it from crashing, while the skilled and bold Tony directly controlled the panel and opened the rear door of the cabin. "What are you going to do?" Steve watched Tony fly out helplessly, and was dissatisfied with his impulsive behavior. However, half a minute later, Tony flew back from outside, opened his mask, and shrugged helplessly in the face of Steve's question. "If I say that it was our illusion just now, you will definitely not believe it, but this is the fact." Steve turned his head and looked at Black Widow in the driver's seat in disbelief. Black Widow frowned and said, "The radar shows that there is indeed nothing outside. Maybe the plane was hit by lightning just now," Black Widow said uncertainly. Tony and Steve naturally didn't believe it, but there was no better explanation. Because of this supernatural event, the plane suddenly became silent. Half a minute ago, after the first lightning appeared, a long-haired man wearing a red cape and holding a square hammer followed the lightning and fell on the back of the Quinjet. This man is naturally Thor, the Hammer brother. His purpose is also very simple, to find his younger brother. After Loki fell off the Rainbow Bridge, although Thor once again became the legitimate crown prince, he was not happy at all. On the 108th day after leaving Loki, it rained heavily in Asgard. "I walked in the rain, imagining the days when we were naughty together in the rain when we were children. I smiled unconsciously on my face, but I don't know why. This smile seems to be salty. Thor's diary." "Well, just kidding. Thor certainly won't write a sad diary like a sultry literary young woman, but this is indeed in line with his mood at the time." So when Heimdall, who can see through the universe, found that Loki appeared on the earth, the first thing Thor did was to ask his father Odin to send him to the earth. After the destruction of the Rainbow Bridge, even Odin had to spend some effort to go from Asgard to the earth. Finally, Thor came to earth as he wished by stepping on lightning. Through the shield of the plane, he seemed to have seen Loki's face that asked for a beating but haunted him. "Brother, I'll take you home." Thor had just stood firm and stood up when he suddenly heard a clang and a silver-purple figure fell in front of him. Although the armor on this person was a little different from the previous style, Thor still recognized his identity at a glance. Saint Lazian. Seeing a healthy Lazian, Thor was full of joy. In the battle with the destroyer in the suburbs of New York, Lazian was almost raped by the destroyer in order to save Thor and his followers. Thor always remembered this incident. It's just that because the Rainbow Bridge was destroyed, he couldn't come to Earth. Otherwise he would definitely come to the recovered Lazian to have a drink. "Hi, Lazian." "I didn't expect." Thor walked forward to Lazian with a look of surprise and greeted him, but he didn't expect Lazian to suddenly pick him up and throw him to the ground. Thor was caught off guard and thrown out of the plane. The two of them fell to the ground in free fall. When Tony came out of the cabin door, they had already fallen below the clouds. In a desolate wilderness, Thor looked helplessly at the fighter plane that had disappeared from his sight, turned his head and looked at Lazian with a bad face. "Why do you do that?" Lazian shrugged. "It is dangerous for an airplane to fly at night. Your operation just now has violated the International Aviation Flight Standard Management Regulations. It is a serious dangerous behavior and should be stopped." Thor's face was covered with a big blindness. "Walter." Lazian spread his hands. "Okay, I'm afraid you will beat up Iron Man and Captain America." When Tony flew to Germany to capture Loki, Lazian followed him all the time, but he didn't show up until Thor showed up, and then he came down and took Thor away from the Quinjet. To be honest, Lazian was skeptical about the fact that Iron Man was hit by Thor's hammer in the movie, but he could still stand firm against Thor after being hit. If you say that Captain America's round shield can block a blow from Thor's hammer, it can be said that it is the special properties of vibranium. Then how can you, Iron Man, have the courage to block the hammer of Thor's hammer when Thor can crush his wrist armor with his bare hands? If the director didn't cheat, Iron Man would have died 100 times. Thank you for your monthly tickets and recommendation tickets. After seeing the results of last month, I don't expect monthly tickets anymore. Leave them to those who need them more. Please support and subscribe. Chapter 187. Face me head on. Subscribe. Man, it's nice to see you again. I'm glad to see you recover. Thor patted Lazia's arm with his big hand. When the two stood together, he was a whole circle bigger than Lazian. To be honest, if it weren't for you, Volstagg, I would have. At that time in the wilderness of New York, when Loki controlled the destroyer to come, Thor's power of the god of thunder had not yet recovered. The three friends of Asgard plus the female warrior Sif were not enough to fight the destroyer. If it weren't for Laziah, they would have gone to Valhalla to become heroes. Laziah smiled and shrugged. It's nothing, but I don't think they will be very grateful to me. It's good that they don't scold me behind my back. After all, if you meet someone and your pants are cut off by a sword, and then you are planted in the soil by a rising dragon, even if he saves you from other villains later, how grateful will you be to him? It is already very generous to be able to smile and pass by as a passerby. Thor smiled. Don't worry, they are not such stingy people. We'll have a drink together some other time. After a few jokes, Thor put away his smile. Okay, we'll reminisce when we have time. Now I have to do something. As he spoke, the Thor's hammer in Thor's hand began to spin, and he squatted slightly and prepared to take off. Laziah put his hand on Thor's shoulder to stop him. Hey, man, if your purpose is to find Loki, I'm afraid you'll have to wait a moment. Thor's face frowns. Are you going to stop me? Laziah moved his neck. It's not that I'm stopping you, it's just that I haven't had a decent fight since I recovered. It's a rare occasion that you're here, and it's open here. Why don't we have some fun? Sorry, buddy, I really don't have time now. Thor opened Laziah's hand, turned around, and flew up with Thor's hammer, but Laziah grabbed his ankle and flew up with him. Don't you want to know what Loki is going to do? Thor shouted without looking back. Buddy, let go of your hand. No matter what Loki is going to do, I will stop him and bring him back to Asgard to be punished. Laziah let go of his hand, but accelerated to sprint in front of Thor and stopped him. You made a mistake on Earth, but you have to go to Asgard for trial. Your thinking is very American. Do you mean that our Earth's laws are not suitable for you Asgardians, or that Earthlings are not qualified to judge Asgardians? Thor stopped and stared with confused eyes. What do you mean? Laziah scratched his head. I almost forgot that your IQ is 2. You have lived for more than 1,000 years, but your IQ is just within the range of ordinary people. This is really terrifying. Well, as a poor student, Laziah actually has no right to make fun of Thor's intelligence. Besides, isn't Thor's intelligence too also a cute point? Stupid cuteness or something. Let me put it this way. Although you are gods in our mythology, Loki made a mistake on Earth, and he still needs to accept our sanctions. So, it is impolite and illegal for you to take people away without any reason. Do you understand? Thor understood what Laziah meant, but he was very dissatisfied with his statement. Loki is from Asgard and the son of Odin. Even if he is to be punished, he can only go back to Asgard and be punished by Odin, the father of the gods. As expected, Thor immediately got angry when it came to Loki. Laziah shrugged. Then there is no room for negotiation. Thor shouted with a fierce face. Man, I thank you for doing so much for me and Asgard, but today, no matter who it is, don't try to stop me from taking Loki back to Asgard. Laziah moved his fingers. Don't be long-winded, come quickly, face me head-on. Boom. The thunder was gradually left behind, and the communication channel of Black Widow on the Quinjet fighter rang. Agent Romanov, this is the space carrier. I'm Commander Hill. How are you doing? The radar detected a high-energy reaction at your location. Black Widow looked outside the plane. The plane was hit by lightning just now, but no damage was caused. Everything is normal now. Loki, who was sitting on the side, frowned deeply. He was very familiar with the lightning just now. It was definitely not formed naturally. He was 100% sure that Thor came to Earth and found him. But now Thor is gone. Was he taken away by the person who appeared at the second sound? Who is that person and why did he take Thor away? After learning some things about SHIELD from Barton, Loki wanted to go to the headquarters of SHIELD to do something. Otherwise, with his plan, how could he be caught so easily? But this new person who could take Thor away quietly made Loki a little passive. The plane soon arrived at the space carrier, and Loki was sent to his temporary detention room, a huge transparent glass tank, by a team of soldiers with live ammunition. Fury pressed the control panel for a while, opened the passage under the detention room, and the strong wind immediately poured in. Listening to the fierce wind, Fury sneered at Loki proudly. Little thief, do you see this jar? As long as you try to escape, or even scratch the glass, you will fall from a height of 9,000 meters with this jar. Boom. So, you are an ant, and your father is a boot. You understand? Fury used this sentence as a summary. He still remembered that Loki used boots and ants to humiliate him at the Dark Energy Research Base. Loki laughed. As a god of mischief who has lived for thousands of years, Fury's revengeful show-off made him feel childish. What a good design. It's not built for me, right? It's built for something more powerful than you. Fury sneered expressionlessly. What's so funny about you? A prisoner. Don't you understand your own situation? Loki tilted his head and looked at the monitor. He knew that among the people who were watching him through the monitor, there was something more powerful than himself. I understand. You are obviously a beast, but you pretend to be an ordinary person. How desperate must you be to find such a beast as a rescuer? Fury wanted to eat Loki. Why would I be so desperate to find anyone? If you hadn't threatened to go to war with the Earth, I wouldn't have done that. To be honest, I don't know if you can find Hulk here. But what can I do? I am also desperate. Fury roared wildly in his heart. His white and creepy eyes were about to pop out, but he couldn't do anything to Loki. He could only listen to Loki's continued taunting. You must be very annoyed by the failure at the last minute. Infinite energy? What did you do with it? A beacon that illuminates human civilization? Or something else? Chapter 188 Discussing Countermeasures. Loki's words left Fury speechless. Loki was right. After Fury got the cosmic cube, he did not develop unlimited energy to contribute to the Earth's depleted energy diary. Tony is the best proof of this. In the newly built Star Tower in New York, the new arc reactor is self-sufficient in energy, which does not require external energy supply for a year, and it is a clean energy with basically no pollution. But Tony, who is so awesome in the energy industry, was not recruited by S.H.I.E.L.D. to join the Cosmic Cube development team. What does this show? This shows that Fury's S.H.I.E.L.D. did not intend to use the Cosmic Cube for energy from the beginning, but was conducting weapons research and development called Phase 2. It seems that there is no difference from what the Red Skull did during World War II. In fact, Fury and the Red Skull have very different starting points. The Red Skull wants to change the world ruled by war, while Fury wants to resist aliens who may come to the Earth at any time and protect the world. Let's not talk about the distant past, just Thor and Loki. Fury must have at least the power to fight against these so-called Asgardian gods. Otherwise he will worry about whether the Earth will be shattered by them when he sleeps. Is Fury wrong? As the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. under the United Nations Security Council, he has never thought that he did anything wrong. Unfortunately, no one thinks so. When Loki directed everyone's thoughts to the direction of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s secret development of weapons, a strange atmosphere began to permeate the conference room. After watching Loki's performance through the monitor, everyone frowned, not knowing what they were thinking. This guy is quite interesting, huh? Bruce Banner smiled and broke the silence. He wanted to convey a meaning to everyone. He just took Loki as a fart and didn't mind if he said he was a monster just now. Captain America nodded and began to figure out Loki's intentions. He is stalling for time, but I don't know what his purpose is. He has an army of Chitauri. The automatic door next to him opened, and a burly man with loose hair walked in, saying as he walked, "No one knows where this army came from, but Loki plans to invade you and occupy the Earth with this army." Thor? Tony looked at Lazai, who came in with surprise. He had met Thor once before, but he didn't expect him to come here suddenly. Lazai smiled and greeted everyone. He had seen Captain America, Black Widow, Iron Man and Hill. This must be Dr. Bruce Banner. Nice to meet you. Lazai smiled and greeted Banner. He had fought with Hulk, but this was the first time he met Banner in close. Banner smiled and shook hands with Lazai. He had memories of transforming into Hulk, so he remembered Lazai. "I'm sorry about what happened last time." After shaking hands with Banner, Lazai introduced, "This is Thor from Asgard, the god of thunder in our mythology." After the two sides got to know each other, Tony pointed at the bruises on Lazai and Thor's faces and asked in confusion, "Did you bump into the door when you came in just now?" Lazai shook his head without explaining. He and Thor had a good fight. Although his face was a little ugly, the result was good. Thor had temporarily given up the plan to take Loki back to Asgard. After knowing that Loki had a large army, Everyone fell into a dilemma. If he had a large army, why would he be willing to be a prisoner? Shouldn't he be in charge of the army? Combining the function of metal iridium, the two smartest people in the Marvel world, Tony Stark and Bruce Banner, jointly calculated and finally came to a conclusion that the ultimate purpose of Loki's actions was to create a stable space portal that would not collapse, so that he would have enough time to send more troops to the Earth. After that, it was time for Tony and Banner to discuss academic issues. Loki said goodbye and left. Not only could he not get a word in, he couldn't even understand what they were saying. A small incident happened during this time. Banner said that Loki was a lunatic and couldn't be understood with normal people's thinking. Thor immediately got angry and roared, "No matter how unreasonable Loki is, he is still from Asgard. He is my brother." Black Widow frowned. "He killed 80 people in 2 days. Thor, he was adopted." Loki breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, although Thor was a little protective of his son, he could still stand firm on major issues. In front of the cage in the air, Loki stood face to face with Loki through the glass. "See you again." Loki smiled and greeted Loki. The surprise on Loki's face was fleeting, and soon he put on a faint evil smile. "You came later than I expected. You were the one who took Thor away on the plane just now." Loki nodded. "Yes, it was me." "Why don't you express your gratitude to your savior? If it weren't for me, Thor might have beaten you to death just now." Loki smiled and shook his head. "No, he loves me as his brother the most. How could he bear to beat me to death?" Loki sighed. "So, are you considered to be spoiled because of your favor? You know Thor won't do anything to you, so you risk your life to die?" Loki shrugged. "You don't understand. I don't want to discuss this topic with you." "Okay." Loki nodded. "Then let's talk about something else. Have you seen him? The one who sent you to Earth, Thanos." "How do you know Thanos?" Loki's eyes narrowed instantly, and then he sighed self-deprecatingly. "Did I expose myself?" Loki took a step forward and looked directly into Loki's eyes. "Yes. When you introduced the Black Dwarf, you were talking about the son of Thanos. So, I really want to know how powerful this Thanos is to give birth to a monster comparable to the Hulk. Tell me everything you know about Thanos." "Everything." Loki smiled. "You have fear in your heart. Although you defeated the Black Dwarf, you are shrouded in a greater fear. Are your suspicion and fear of the mysterious and unknown forces making you a little at a loss? After all, although you can use divine power, you are just an earthling after all. The knowledge of earthlings limits your understanding of the universe." "What a pity. As a human being, you will probably never know the meaning of eternity, and you will never know the feeling of controlling infinite power." The meaning of eternity, infinite power. After listening to Loki's words, Loki's consciousness was a little hazy, but she soon regained her clarity. "Humphrey, what's the meaning of those illusory things? You talk so nicely, as if you know everything." "Ha!" Rolling her eyes at Loki, Loki turned and left. In the cage behind him, Loki smiled through the glass jar as if he had eaten several pounds of rotten grapes. When Loki returned to the conference room, the meeting had been disbanded. Tony and Banner began to track the location of the cosmic cube based on the gamma signal source, while Thor and Captain America were temporarily left alone. As an outsider, Thor only needed to temporarily confirm that his ode to Loki was safe, but Captain America was different. His deep-rooted obedience to orders caused a huge conflict between him and Tony. The Avengers have not yet been fully formed, but cracks have begun to appear. After the domestic chapter, the average rating continues to be around 600. Compared with nearly 30,000 collections, it can be said that it is a complete mess. In this case, I will let myself go. The roles of the S.H. that is and domestic heroes will continue to increase, and the massage chairs and ancient poems will have to be picked up again. Well, that's it. Let's cherish it while we go. Chapter 189. A disorganized group. Captain America, who had nothing to do, decided to check out Tony and Banner's research progress and supervise them, because he had already seen that Tony was a cynical idiot who didn't take anything seriously. Sure enough, in the laboratory, Tony seemed to be on vacation, chatting with Banner while doing some dangerous actions heartlessly, such as poking Banner's butt with a small stick. Hey, what's wrong with you? It's not funny to treat the lives of everyone on the aircraft carrier as a joke, Mr. Stark. You should focus on solving your own problems. Tony naturally had to fight back against Captain America, who thought he was the most serious and responsible moral model and three-bar civilized model in the world, who treats the lives of the entire ship as a joke. Do you know what Fury did before he came to us? Do you know what he concealed? You don't know anything. Is it really okay to be righteous here? The first thing Tony did after boarding the space carrier was to order Jarvis to start cracking the system firewall on the space carrier, because he knew that S.H.I.E.L.D. was not as simple as it seemed. Although Fury pretended to be a victim, it was impossible for him to be robbed without any research on the cosmic cube for so long. Banner agreed with Tony's approach, and he had the same worries as Tony. Captain America, who was born in the old society and grew up under the Stars and Stripes, was loyal to the country, but not pedantic. Although he did not agree with Tony's words on the surface, he could not help but feel suspicious. Maybe they are right. After all, they are all smart people with doctoral titles. So Captain America violated the principle of obedience and secretly sneaked into the warehouse on the space carrier. At the same time, Black Widow appeared outside Loki's glass jar. Loki made full use of his mouth cannon to make Black Widow, who wanted to find news about Barton, fall into confusion and begin to doubt her life. Unfortunately, Loki still didn't understand women, and Black Widow finally successfully tricked him into thinking that he wanted to drive Hulk crazy and destroy the space carrier from the inside. After returning to the conference room with this news, Black Widow found that the atmosphere was a little wrong before she had time to speak. All the scheduled Avengers were confronting Fury in the conference room, and on the table was a prototype of the Phase 2 weapon that Captain America had just stolen from the warehouse. Black Widow didn't look at the weapon, but pointed her finger at Banner. Although Banner was tricked back from India by her, she now hoped that Banner, the uneasy factor, could leave quickly more than anyone else. Banner really didn't want to come at first, but of course he finally came, not because of the seduction of Black Widow, who was at the peak of her appearance in the entire series. He was completely kind-hearted and wanted to help solve a huge crisis that could affect the world. After learning about Loki's plan and the secrets hidden by S.H.I.E.L.D., he felt that he couldn't leave. He wanted Fury to explain why they used the cosmic cube to make weapons of mass destruction. Fury had no choice but to tell the truth. The purpose of making weapons was to defend against aliens like Thor, who had devastating power on the Earth. There must be many aliens like Thor in the entire universe. How can the Earthlings compete with them without stronger weapons? Thor, who was watching the show with his arms folded, said helplessly, "Blame me. If the aliens want to invade you, it is because you have recklessly developed the power of the cosmic cube, thus sending them a signal that the Earth is ready to fight a high-level war. The implication is that the Earth is just a small tribe in a remote and poor place in the universe, and the aliens will invade you only when they have nothing to do." Tony made a summary. So the purpose of making weapons of mass destruction is to achieve the meaning of nuclear threat. Captain America interrupted and said that if Stark continued to make weapons, he would probably have been pulled into the development team long ago. Tony was upset. "Please, we are jointly fighting against Fury. Why are you targeting me? I have shut down the weapons research and development department and have not been the big brother for many years." "Okay," Thor sighed. He did not expect that humans are still so barbaric. Fury retorted, "Did humans blow up your house?" Thor shouted, "We are the guardians of the Earth and deserve your trust." Black Widow laughed at the crowd. "Can you not be so naive?" But in a moment, the conference room fell into a messy quarrel. Everyone was dissatisfied with others, dissatisfied, and distrustful. Everyone wanted to overwhelm the other party with their own ideas. In the glass cage, Loki's mouth curled up high. His plan was completed smoothly. In fact, being tricked by Black Widow was just a part of Loki's plan, just an anti-routine. The Avengers seemed powerful, but in fact they were just a pile of loose sand put together temporarily. As long as we understand the personalities of these people, we can let them disintegrate themselves. Snap, snap. The sound of clapping rang out. Lazia sat on the edge of the cage, his 2 feet casually hanging outside, clapping his hands and sighing. "TSK, TSK, TSK, Just a few words, and a seemingly powerful team was suspicious of each other and spoke ill of each other. He is indeed the god of trickery. Loki raised his head and could only see two long legs swaying. Doesn't this person know that sitting on someone else's head is impolite? But Loki was not annoyed. He smiled happily. Don't say it so harshly. This is not a trick. I just restored their original intentions and let them understand their own ideas better. I guess it's the power of the scepter, the one you use to control Barton and others. The quarrel in the conference room began to intensify, and the mind scepter flashing with a strange blue light was even subconsciously held in the hand of the angry banner. Loki smiled and said, "So what? The scepter has powerful and unlimited power just like magic. It is not just about controlling people's hearts. What do you think? Are you interested?" Lazia seemed to be interested and jumped down from the cage. "Oh, can you tell me about their origins?" Loki shook his head contemptuously and said, "It is difficult for me to explain it to you with your IQ. Fuck." Lazia kicked the glass cage with a bang. The force shook the cage for a while, and the passage under the cage was passively opened, and there was a danger of falling at any time. No, Loki was scared. He almost forgot that this Lazia was not the Avengers he met for the first time outside. There was a mortal feud between them. Lazia looked at the cage that was barely stabilized with surprise. Oh, it turns out that external force can also open the descending device. Do you want to experience a free fall from an altitude of 9,000 meters, Mr. Loki? I really want to know if your skin that even bullets can't penetrate can withstand the test of 9,000 meters. When it was time to admit defeat, Loki did not hesitate and immediately raised his hands to beg for mercy. No, I will tell you everything you want to know, and I promise not to hide anything. Okay. Lazia nodded and asked seriously, the first question, are you a gay? I asked for leave twice, and there was only one update yesterday. And there is only one update today. I owe a total of 6 chapters. I remember it. Adjust your work and rest time, and try to make up for it all this week. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190 Olympus. Loki had a sentence stuck in his throat that he couldn't get out of his mouth. You exposed him in person. No, you were humiliating me in person. Are you doubting that my spear is not sharp enough? Seeing Loki's face becoming obviously annoyed, high, and angry, Lazia raised her hand to admit her mistake. Okay, I shouldn't ask such a sensitive question. Let's change it. Well, let's talk about Thanos first. Tell me who he is and what kind of abilities he has. The more detailed the better. The most troublesome ultimate boss known in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is Thanos, and Thanos' strength cannot be simply guessed from the plot in the movie. Movies can be unreasonable for fun, but reality cannot. Loki, who has seen Thanos, is the most suitable person to inquire about. Thanos. Loki's face became solemn as he said this name. He is the most powerful person I have ever seen. How powerful is he? Compared with Odin? Odin should be the most powerful person Lazia has ever seen. In the Bronze Age, he could only be crushed. Even if he has been promoted to silver now, he still feels that he can't make any waves in Odin's hands. It is a kind of crushing from a high level. Compared with Odin? Loki shook his head. If it is the dying Cyclops now, there is no comparison at all. A complete crush? Crush Odin? Lazia was shocked. If a non-complete Thanos without a glove and gemstones has crushed Odin, how powerful would Thanos be in the form of the Infinity Gauntlet? Invincible? And what is Lazia who was crushed by Odin? Is he really an ant on the edge of the boot? Loki was very satisfied with Lazia's reaction. You ignorant earth bumpkin. This universe is much more terrifying than you think. I said, you don't understand the meaning of eternity. Thanos is eternity to you. Loki smiled and said, but I heard an interesting thing. Do you know that the earliest origin of Thanos' race is the Earth? It is hard to imagine that such a powerful race can be born in such a backward and barbaric place. But later, for some reason, they left the Earth and went to Titan. and became a powerful race in the universe. It is said that some of their people stayed on Earth and were worshipped as gods by the people on Earth. Guess who those gods are? Lizaya stared at Loki blankly. Do you want to guess or not? Lizaya didn't know the origin of Thanos. In his previous life, his main understanding of Marvel was basically limited to the movies that had been released, and he only picked out the comics that he was interested in to learn a little. So for Thanos, who always wanted to contribute to the sustainable development of the universe, he knew very little, and he was even less clear about his origin and origin. As for the fact that Thanos' race originated from the Earth, what a joke. Why don't you say that Thanos' father is Jehovah, and the Earth was created by their family? Hey, is there a god in this world? Loki really enjoyed Lizaya's confused look when being asked questions. No matter how good you are at fighting, it can't change the fact that you are a poor student, just like Thor who has no brains. Contempt from the IQ, haha. It doesn't matter if you can't guess it. I can tell you that those gods are called the Olympian gods. Ahem ahem. Lizaya was almost choked by this explosive news. What did you say? The Olympian gods. Zeus. Didn't Odin say before that he had never seen anyone from the Olympian gods? How could it be? Loki nodded proudly. Unexpected, right? I didn't expect it either. All along, we thought that Zeus and his Olympian gods were just an alien tribe in the universe. I didn't expect that they have been on Earth all along. No wonder we couldn't find any trace of them after searching the entire universe. Bang! Lizaya slapped the glass, shaking the cage. I don't believe there are gods on Earth. Tell me where the Olympians are. Thanos must know. It's no wonder that Lizaya lost his temper. This was the first time he heard accurate news about the Olympians from someone. Athena, who he had been looking for so long, was actually on Earth. How could Lizaya not be excited? Loki shrugged and smiled. Why should I tell you? You, Lizaya threatened with a fierce face. If you don't tell me, I will throw you down. Don't think I'm joking. I guess this news is very important to you. Lizaya's eagerness made Loki discover the problem, and he quickly regained the initiative, grinning again. Haha, what good will it do you to throw me down? You won't know what you want, unless you ask Thanos himself. Loki saw through the impulsive question, and Lizaya was immediately angry. However, he knew that in front of a truly smart person, even if he denied it now, he would not be able to change his passive situation, so he simply stopped hiding it. Okay, then what do you want? It's simple, spend a night with me. This was the words Lizaya used to tease Loki before, and now Loki sent it back intact. From the night we drank in New York, I confirmed one thing, we can cooperate. Loki pointed in the direction of the conference room. You are different from them. You don't have too many concerns like them. You are more in line with your own heart. Lizaya curled her lips. Are you trying to say that I am more selfish? Loki smiled, neither admitting nor denying. Go and kill those heroes from Earth. After we conquer Earth, we can rule together. And, you know, my goal is Asgard. At that time, this Earth will be yours alone. Money, power, women, all the things that men are crazy about will belong to you alone. You will be the king of Earth. Lizaya shook his head. I can cooperate with you, but I won't deal with them. After all, they are all my friends. Loki expressed regret for this. What a pity. Boom. Suddenly there was a loud noise outside, and the whole aircraft carrier shook. The piercing alarm sounded, mixed with the sound of the broadcast. Attention. All personnel in place. It seems that the controlled agent Barton has brought people in, but Lizaya pretended to be confused and frowned and asked, what happened? Loki smiled but said nothing, as if everything was under control. One of the 4 engines malfunctioned and exploded, and the entire aircraft carrier instantly fell into chaos. Although the stabilization and repair work went smoothly under the intense mobilization of Fury and Hill, the thing they least wanted to see happened. In the conference room, Banner was already annoyed by everyone's quarrels, and the sudden explosion made his mentality collapse. After a roar, Hulk appeared. In a relatively closed environment like a space carrier, one Hulk is enough to kill everyone, and turn the space carrier that cost millions and took many years to build into a pile of debris. Listening to the constant collisions and explosions in the distance, Loki grinned and said, I said it long ago that Fury would destroy himself by bringing the monster on board. Unfortunately, my words came true. Mr. Lazian. Loki turned his head. Are you ready for our era? Lazian shook his head. No, it's your era. Loki grinned. His smile was very powerful. Thank you 159 for the 500 reward. Thank you Heavy Gunner Under the Stars for the reward. Chapter 191 Invasion of Aircraft Carrier. As time went by, the panic not only did not subside, but intensified. With the continuous sound of explosions and gunfire, the scope of the impact became wider and wider. In the end, the entire aircraft carrier began to tilt. After finally stabilizing his body, Loki smiled and looked at Lazian. Don't you need to help? Your comrades are probably already busy. Lazian frowned slightly. According to the agreement just now, we are the comrades, aren't we? Loki was stunned. Okay, I almost forgot that you had already changed sides a minute ago. Hee. Lazian stretched out her leg and kicked the glass jar. After you said that, why do I seem to want to regret it a little bit? At this moment, the glass door of the cage suddenly opened automatically, and Loki walked out with a smile. Relax, relax, your decision is correct. Cooperating with me is the best choice you have made in your life. Believe me, Patton's black technology Arrow has hacked the aircraft carrier's system at a speed countless times faster than Jarvis, and opened the glass door of the cage. No, before Loki could even leave the house, he saw a big man holding a hammer rushing out of the corridor opposite the glass door, roaring and rushing towards him. Loki was busy but not chaotic. He used a steady illusion to deceive Thor, who was rushing towards him. Not only did he successfully escape from the cage, but he also locked Thor in. Perfect. The glass door closed, and Thor was trapped. The mad Thor was about to swing the hammer to hit the glass door, but he found the figure of Lazian standing on the side, and hurriedly shouted happily, "Hey, man, it's great that you are here, hurry up and catch him, he is going to destroy this place." Loki stood not far from Lazian and said with a smile, "Don't waste your energy, stupid brother, can't you see that we have alliance?" The last three words sounded behind Lazian. Loki next to him kept talking and slowly disappeared, and another Loki appeared behind him, holding the Mind Scepter in his hand, and the tip of the scepter gently touched Lazian's vest. Before Lazian could even make a move, she felt a powerful force invading her mind. It felt like her consciousness was being pulled out of her body and a new one was put in. Her original consciousness was in an illusory space, watching her body move under the command of another consciousness in a passive, helpless and dazed state. Loki leaned forward and whispered in Lazian's ear, "Although it's meaningless, I still want to say that I never believe in so-called allies. I only need loyal subordinates." Thor looked at Lazian angrily as he put down his hand that he had raised to fight back at the last moment. His eyes turned the same blue as the cosmic cube. No. The hammer smashed hard on the glass, leaving a crack in the glass. The already unstable fixing mechanism outside the cage became even more dangerous due to the shock. "I didn't expect it to be so smooth." Loki shrugged at Thor. "By the way, Lazian asked me a question just now. With the physical fitness of us Asgardians, will we die if we fall from a height of 9,000 meters? I'm also curious." Walking to the control panel of the cage, Loki smiled and said, "Why don't we give it a try?" Plop. The agent who rushed in with Barton was knocked down from behind. Coulson appeared behind the fallen agent holding a second-stage prototype, with the gun pointed at Loki's face. The meaning couldn't be simpler. "I'll kill you if you don't behave." Faced with an unknown weapon, Loki decisively chose to admit his defeat, and the action of the control panel also stopped. Isn't it handsome? Working with his idol Captain America gave Coulson the illusion that he was also a superhero savior. He shook unconsciously. "Because of your destroyer, we made this thing. I don't know its power. Do you want to try?" A big hand suddenly appeared and pressed Coulson's face, knocking him to the ground. With a bang, Coulson's head hit the ground, and a hole was directly smashed in the iron floor. Lazian stood up. "I'm sorry, I really can't bear to see a weak person pretending to be cool in front of me." Coulson's eyes suddenly became unfocused when he looked at the ceiling, and he kicked his legs and stopped moving. Loki smiled and looked at Lazian. "I didn't expect you to still have a bad temper, but your actions are a little rough. You can actually be more elegant." Lozaya raised her head and smiled like Loki. Is this considered rough? You haven't seen anything rougher. Walking to the glass cage, Lozaya raised her head and pointed her chin at Thor. Don't you want to kill him? This device is unreliable. Open the door and let me do it. Loki naturally would not agree to Lozaya's request. He pressed the panel directly, and the hatch below opened, and the cage fell down with a whoosh. Lozaya squatted down, looking at the glass cage that was falling rapidly and rolling in the air, and shook his head with some regret. Thor's the only one on the aircraft carrier who can still fight. What a pity. Also, do you really think that this method can kill him? Loki turned and retracted his gaze. Whether he can be killed or not is not up to you. Let's go. Lozaya stood up obediently, followed Loki on a Quinjet fighter, and the plane quickly rushed into the sky. Are we running away? Lozaya retracted his gaze as they were getting farther and farther away from the burning space carrier, and asked Loki next to him with a smile. Loki shook his head. Running away? Not happening. We are going to create an era. Lozaya raised his eyebrows. An era? Isn't this a bit exaggerated? You will see. Loki stopped talking, leaned against the cabin and began to close his eyes to rest. After being controlled by the mind scepter, the smile on Lozaya's face became much simpler, no longer like before when he could see that he was holding back evil in his heart. Although his mouth was still very broken, Loki did not hate him as much as before. Once you accept this setting, the little chatterbox is actually quite cute, isn't it? On the space carrier, the broken engine was finally repaired by Tony and Captain America, and the aircraft carrier was saved from the danger of capsizing. The invading agents, including Barton, were all subdued. Although the situation has stabilized, Fury's face seems to have become several shades darker. The aircraft carrier was damaged and the casualties on board were heavy. Banner and Thor were missing, and Lozaya had turned against them. However, Lozaya was not a member of the S.H.I.E.L.D. team, and Fury didn't expect him to be of any help. What made him most sad and angry was that he lost his most capable subordinate. Agent Coulson died in the line of duty. Sir, the people in the medical team looked at Fury with a somewhat ugly face, not knowing what to say. Fury nodded to the medical officer. Take him away. Help him clean up. He doesn't like himself to be sloppy. The medical officer led the people away with the constipated expression. Fury summoned the two people who had the most intense quarrel and almost came to blows, Iron Man and Captain America, to the conference room. Banner and Thor are missing, and I have lost my most capable men. I am completely at my wit's end. I know I shouldn't have pinned my hopes on using the cosmic cube to make weapons. In fact, I have a more daring plan, and Stark knows it too. That is, the Avengers. Chapter 192. The Ghost Sword opens. The fighter plane was moving very fast, and the space carrier was no longer visible in a short while. Lozaya sat opposite Loki, holding a pistol and spinning it on her finger. Playing tricks. By the way, why don't you let me sink the space carrier directly? As long as all the people on that ship are killed, no one can pose a threat to our actions. Loki shook his head, opened his eyes and smiled. If no one sees our performance, then what's the point of our performance? The motivation for opera singers to perform with their heart is because there is a group of audiences who love them. Lozaya shrugged. Okay, as long as you are happy. But then again, Lozaya supported her arm with her elbow and moved forward. Are the Chitauri you mentioned reliable? They are not just scumbags, right? It would be funny if they can't even make a wave in the end. Loki thought for a while. At least with the current technology of the Earth, there is no chance of winning against the Chitauri. Well, Lozaya nodded. I wanted to get some help for you, but now there is no need. Helper? A Saint Seiya like you? Loki became interested. Come to think of it, I'm quite curious about your origins, because I've never heard of the name of the Saint Seiya before. It's as if you appeared out of thin air. So where on earth did you come from? Lozaya shrugged. It seems that your knowledge reserves are not very good. Thanos even knows the information of the Olympian gods, but doesn't know the origins of the Saint Seiya. Loki's eyebrows jumped. Saint Seiya, you are from the Olympus Sanctuary. Are you a warrior of the Olympian gods? No. Loki overturned his own thoughts in an instant. If you really are from Olympus, how could you not know their location? Or, You are their exiled warrior who wants to go back for revenge? Lozier rolled his eyes. You have a strong imagination, but unfortunately, not everyone is like you, thinking about revenge and ruling the world all day long. I'm different from you. I just happened to discover the practice method of the sanctuary. I want to find the sanctuary in order to gain more powerful power. It doesn't matter to me whether I rule the world or not. What I pursue is power. Lozier clenched her fist and looked at the sky in the distance. Since I knew that the world is not as big as the earth, I have felt the urgency. The enemies from the universe will only become stronger and stronger. Only power can make me feel at ease. Your idea is good. Loki nodded, but the Olympians are just gods on Earth. Even if you become a god, what can you do? For the unknown powerful forces in the universe, you are just an ant. What's more, you are just a warrior. It is your destiny to charge into battle and die on the battlefield. What about the universe? You think too much. Loki didn't say this. Even if Lozier is now a puppet, he needs to be a puppet who is confident and capable of fighting. The plane passed through the clouds and soon arrived over New York. From a distance, Lozier saw the tall and ugly building mentioned by Captain America, Stark Building. A big old man was busy with a machine on the open-air platform on the roof. After these days of hard work, Dr. Eric Selvig, with the help of Loki and the Mind Scepter, finally turned the Einstein-Rosen bridge theory, or wormhole theory, into reality. When Loki and Lozier landed on the platform, Dr. Selvig's device had been installed. Driven by the powerful self-sufficient power of the cosmic cube, the device had entered the startup stage. This is definitely a great event across the century. A new universe is about to open up to the Earth. Well done, Selvig. Loki nodded casually, then found a sofa and sat down, waiting for the arrival of the Avengers at leisure. The device needs to be preheated. I have thought of a way to stabilize the quantum tunneling effect, so there is no need to heat the cosmic cube to 100 million degrees first. It can exceed the Coulomb barrier to complete the nuclear fusion of heavy ions. Loki closed his eyes to rest, and Selvig treated Lozier as a person to confide in, and began to introduce the greatness of his research results. But it was a pity that it was just talking to a cow. Lozier shrugged and spread his hands, looking like a loser. Doctor, I'm sorry I didn't pass this at 4. I don't understand what you said at all. What? Nothing. After an unknown amount of time, Selvig's eyes suddenly lit up. It's done. With his operation, the device on which the cosmic cube was installed began to deform, and the antenna-like thing on the top also quickly turned. Lozier clearly felt an explosive force gathering crazily. The energy was so strong that if it really exploded, the entire Earth would probably be destroyed. Whoosh! A beam of fire in the distance was getting closer and closer. Before Iron Man flew over, he aimed his hand cannon at Loki, who was resting on the sofa. Boom! A burst of energy hit and directly overturned the sofa. Loki was thrown aside in a mess, and the scepter in his hand was thrown out. You are really here? Tony opened his mask and looked at Loki, who climbed up from behind the upside-down sofa, with a bad face. With Loki's physical fitness, he would not be hurt, but his embarrassed appearance made him very angry. He turned his head and glared at Lozier beside him, gritting his teeth and said, "You won't tell me that you didn't react, right? The warriors of the sanctuary shouldn't be unable to defend against such an attack. I was afraid that this thing would fall, so I helped you catch it." Lozier waved the Mind Scepter in his hand. When the scepter was thrown away just now, it just happened to fall into his hand. Are you kidding? Give me the scepter quickly. Loki wanted to rush to Lozier, but was blocked by an energy cannon. What? Without the spear, you are helpless. Tony teased Loki with a hand cannon and laughed. Without the spear, you still have the horn. Bambi. Loki, who was dodging the energy cannon, suddenly threw his hand, and a cold light flew towards Tony in the air. The cold light was a dagger. Tony in the air had never expected that the embarrassed Loki would do such a thing. He had no time to dodge and was hit by the dagger that suddenly broke through the air. Loki smiled. This dagger produced in Asgard was undoubtedly a magical weapon for the people on Earth. It could easily pierce Thor's body that could withstand bullets, let alone the iron plate of the iron armor. As a result, there was a clang, and the dagger hit Tony's armor, creating a small spark, and then it spun and fell down, and just fell into Lazia's hands. Loki's eyes widened. It stands to reason that there is no metal on Earth that cannot be pierced by his dagger, unless your armor uses Ru from the Divine Realm. Chapter 193. The drama begins. How is it possible? How could you have Ru? Loki recalled it after a while. These Ru were given to Tony by him. It can only be said that he reaps the consequences of his own actions. If Loki did not send the destroyer to kill Thor on Earth at that time, not only would Thor not have regained the power of Thor so quickly, but Tony would not have been able to get Ru to build the Iron Man suit. Loki suddenly realized that things were developing in a direction he had not expected. Not only was Iron Man suit suspected to be made of Ru, but also Lazia. It turns out that you are not controlled by me at all. Lazia shook her head. No, your charming temperament has conquered me a long time ago. Okay, haha, okay. Loki laughed in anger. I didn't expect that you could break free from the control of the Mind Scepter. You really can surprise me, the Saint of Olympus. Lazia shrugged. I didn't expect it either. Would you believe me? Lazia did not deliberately mock Loki. He really didn't expect that the Mind Scepter would have such a low control over him. When Loki hit him from behind on the space carrier, it wasn't that Lazia couldn't avoid it, but he wanted to take this opportunity to get in touch with the Mind Stone, so he deliberately let Loki succeed. Before doing this, Lazia had some considerations in his mind. In the movie, there were two people who were controlled by the Mind Scepter and recovered. One was Barton and the other was Selvig. The way Barton got rid of the control was that Black Widow helped him to the bed, and then used belts, dripping wax, and gags. Well, none of these. He was cured by Black Widow using a physical therapy called cognitive recalibration, commonly known as mouth cannon. As for Selvig, the energy from the explosion of Iron Man's hand cannon hit his head on the machine and he recovered. This is like a joke in a Korean drama. So Lazia analyzed that the control effect of the Mind Scepter is not strong. At most, it is just a kind of interference to the mind. This should be the fault of Loki's lack of skills. As for the interference and control of the mind, Lazia happens to know a little bit. Don't forget, he was trained by Deathstroke in the mental space. The skills used by Deathstroke gave Lazia certain resistance to mental control. Coupled with Lazia's own strong will of the universe, the power of the Mind Scepter was dissolved as soon as it entered his body. However, in order to force the Avengers to form an army, Lazia pretended to be controlled and defeated Coulson. At this time, on the bed in the infirmary of the space carrier, Coulson was rubbing the bump on the back of his head and slowly getting up. How long have I slept? The medical officer next to him looked at his watch with an expression on his face. Less than 5 hours, and the steel floor has been smashed into a deep hole by your head. But there is only a bump on your head. Agent Coulson, I really want to know, is your head made of titanium alloy? Coulson stretched out his hand and knocked on his head. Sorry, there seems to be no metal sound. You must have guessed wrong. Whatever. The medical officer was not a picky person, turned and walked out of the house. Also, I am sorry to inform you that you have been declared dead by the director. Coulson's confused mind was a little confused. What do you mean? Is this heaven? I always thought that agents like me should go to hell after death. This is neither heaven nor hell. Fury walked in and threw a document to Coulson. But you are about to go to the nearest place to heaven. There was a place name written on the document. Tahiti. Tahiti, also translated as Tahiti, has picturesque scenery and is known as the place closest to heaven. Coulson's eyebrows jumped. In his eyes, the name Tahiti is not just a place name, but represents a secret research project, which he was in charge of before. Sir, this hasn't it been cancelled? Fury nodded. Inside is your passport and plane ticket. Go to Tahiti and have a good vacation. I will give you a new task later. But sir, Loki, with the Avengers here, you don't have to worry about Loki. Fury was right. Loki felt that he was going to die before all the Avengers arrived. How could he fight a saint who could not be controlled by the Mind Scepter and an Iron Man wearing an iron suit made by Ru, holding the rebounding dagger? Loki looked at the device behind the two people, and a smile appeared on his face again. The sudden explosion of the cosmic cube made Lazia and Tony look back in a hurry. and they saw a blue light suddenly shot up from the top of the device and pierce the sky. The blue sky seemed to be filled with dark paint, and a group of deep blue stars suddenly appeared and began to rapidly expand. Through the space gate to the prototype, Zodiac could even see the densely packed gray army ready to go. Ha ha ha. Loki laughed. You lose. Loki didn't need to explain. As long as this space gate was opened in New York, the world's most prosperous city with a population of more than 8 million, it meant that the Avengers had lost. The Avengers were only 6 people at most, not to mention that there were 2 ordinary people, Black Widow and Hawkeye, who were dragging their feet. Even if the other 4 were Iron Man except Hulk and Thor, they couldn't stop the dense army of Chitauri that had begun to jump down like dumplings. Looking at the Chitauri flying down from the space gate overhead, Tony felt a little scalp numb. There were so many Chitauri that he certainly couldn't stop them all, and anyone that slipped through the net would be a disaster for the defenseless New Yorkers. But no matter what, Tony still rushed into the sky without hesitation, and the micro-missiles on his shoulders were fired one after another, exploding clusters of Chitauri fireworks in the air. But compared to the number of Chitauri, the number of Tony's missiles was far less than that of the Chitauri. Stark, what's the situation? We'll be there soon, at 3 o'clock. Captain America's voice finally sounded in the built-in headphones of the Iron Man suit. The Quinjet took off from the space carrier at the same time as Iron Man, but was left behind for a full 5 minutes, and only arrived late after the space gate was opened. Did you go to buy a takeaway before coming here? Tony couldn't help but feel a little anxious. Zodiac, find a way to close the space gate. I'll go up and attract their attention first, Tony said in the air, watching the Chitauri passing by him. He gave instructions through the headset. Captain, go to Parker Street. I'll lead them. Before Tony finished speaking, he heard a bang below him. A Chitauri aircraft suddenly exploded into a ball of sparks in midair. The explosion of the Chitauri aircraft was just the beginning. As a large number of aircraft dived down, sparks exploded one after another. It was as if there was an invisible barrier in the air that stopped them all. Golden ripples spread out from the sparks. That's right. This invisible barrier that stopped the Chitauri was the crystal wall cast by Zodiac. Chapter 194 Avengers Assemble. In the United Nations headquarters building not too far from the Stark building, a tall black man stood by the window with a sullen face, looking at the space door that was opening. He came from a small hereditary kingdom in Africa. Their country's territory was not vast, and its resources were scarce. It was a poor agricultural country. As the crown prince, he followed his father to the United Nations to attend a meeting on aiding African countries, but he did not expect to encounter such a thing as an alien invasion. There were many people watching the excitement by the window, all of whom were participants. When the strange phenomenon first appeared, the young man clenched his fists and was ready to leave when no one was paying attention, but he was stopped by a gray-haired black man next to him. The black man was his father, the current king, and shook his head and stopped his impulsive behavior with a stern look. The young man had no choice but to suppress his restlessness and quietly squeezed in the crowd to look out the window. Then, countless fireworks exploded in the sky. When the golden light wall appeared in the sky, the young man almost smashed the window glass in front of him with a punch. What is going on? Shouldn't this transparent energy shield technology be unique? How did they appear here? Is there a traitor in the kingdom? That should be the skill of the Saint Seiya. It has been used before in Harlem and at the Stark Industrial Expo. However, no one expected that this light wall could defend such a large area. A tall Asian man next to him sighed. From their perspective, the golden crystal wall in the air had an area of at least 1 square kilometer. Densely packed aliens fell from the sky and crashed into the crystal wall like moths to a flame, but they could not break through the seemingly thin layer of light wall. The young man turned his head and glanced at the Asian who was speaking. He found that he knew this person. This person was Zhu San, the most active official in the Chinese Empire in aiding Africa. Mr. Zhu, the young man nodded and greeted Zhu San. Excuse me, who is the Saint Seiya you are talking about? Your Excellency the Crown Prince, Zhu San politely replied. Just call me Kala. Kala had a good impression of this Chinese official who was very friendly with African brothers, and waved his hand to urge, I want to know about this Saint Seiya. Saint Seiya. Some people also call him Dragon Warrior. Compared with the relatively leisurely storytelling atmosphere here, the atmosphere on Stark Building was a little tense. It is not an easy task to open a crystal wall with an area of square kilometers. As a flexible skill, in a certain Saint Seiya derivative work with a wonderful style, it was even developed to the point where it can wrap the entire Earth, enough to defend against any cosmic disasters such as supernova explosions and gamma-ray bursts from space. Unfortunately, there is no evolution method of crystal ball in Shin's inheritance. All Zodiac can do is to create a flat crystal wall within a few hundred meters of his body. Moreover, with Zodiac's current ability, the largest area of the crystal wall is only thousands of square meters. 1 square kilometer is equal to 1 million square meters, which is completely beyond his ability. The reason why he can now open such a large crystal wall is all thanks to the Mind Scepter in his hand. The core of the Mind Staff is the Mind Gem, which is refined from the essence of the Big Bang and is one of the 6 infinity gems that contains the strongest cosmic energy. The so-called cosmic energy, in Zodiac's perspective, is the powerful energy of the microcosm. So when Zodiac holds this staff in his hand, it is almost equivalent to Athena's victory staff. Although he cannot absorb energy directly from it like a cultivator or a magician, he can use it to strengthen the strength of his microcosm. With the Mind Staff in hand, although Zodiac has not yet comprehended the 7th sense at once, he is extremely close, and has almost reached the peak that a Silver Saint can reach. So it is still possible to prop up a large crystal wall, but the premise is that in order to maintain the crystal wall from being blown up by the suicide charge explosion of the Chitauri, no one can interfere with his actions. But after Iron Man Tony took off, only Zodiac and Loki were left on the Stark Building. I guess it must be very difficult for you to support such a large wall of light. Loki hung a signature smile at the corner of his mouth, and a dagger of the same type as Zodiac has appeared in his hand. As a scheming boy, Loki has plenty of daggers like this. He pointed the dagger's tip at Zodiac's forehead and said with a smile, "I wonder if you can spare the energy to create another wall of light that can block me." Loki swung his hand, and the dagger turned into a black shadow and shot towards Zodiac's face. It was a standard and elegant skill. Although Zodiac didn't have the energy to create a crystal wall to block the dagger, he was not unable to move. He slashed his arm holding the dagger in the air, and knocked the flying dagger away with a clang. But at the same time, a chill appeared behind him. Loki used the same trick again. After throwing the dagger, he directly activated the illusion skill and flashed behind Zodiac. A dagger appeared in his hand again and stabbed Zodiac's back. This artifact dagger that can pierce Thor's defense may not be blocked by Zodiac's holy clothes. And Zodiac, who needs to support the crystal wall, has no ability to avoid this backstab. But he didn't need to hide, because he had already felt a powerful microcosm rushing towards him. Swish! A flash of lightning instantly pierced from the sky in front of his eyes, knocking Loki, whose dagger had already touched Zodiac's holy clothes, away. Thor, wearing a red cloak, arrived in time. "Hey, buddy, are you okay?" Zodiac breathed a sigh of relief. "Fortunately you arrived in time, your Odotu is left to you." Ignoring the love-hate relationship between Tony and Loki, Zodiac once again focused his attention on the sky. The space gate was still expanding, and the Chitauri were jumping out of it like diarrhea. Although Tony, who was active on the battlefield, successfully attracted the attention of some Chitauri, his results were very limited compared to the huge base of the Chitauri army. After a period of suicidal collisions and finding that they could not do anything with the crystal wall, the Chitauri changed their attack strategy. Some soldiers jumped off the aircraft, landed on the crystal wall and began to use physical attacks, while the other part sat on the aircraft and began to detour. Apparently, the Chitauri commander didn't believe that this crystal wall could be big enough to cover the entire New York. A Quinjet fighter broke into the enemy group. The zipper of the plane was unzipped, and a thick long gun barrel that looked like a penis stretched out. At the same time, a small lamb on the ground slowly drove over. "Thank you Juan for the reward. Thank you the wind that brushed through the fingers for the 600 reward." Chapter 195 Hatred out of control. Stark, How big is the range of this light wall? Can it stop all the enemies? Amid the roar of the fighter's machine gun, Captain America's voice was transmitted to Tony's ears through the headset. At the end, Captain America sighed. I never thought that technology has advanced to this level. In our time, there is no such technology in our time, Captain. This is Lazia's ability. You can simply understand it as a superpower, just like Thor can control lightning. Black Widow interrupted Captain America's sigh, with a proud and excited look on her face. That's right, it's a superpower. Lazia's voice came from everyone's headset. When they were on the space carrier, Lazia asked Hill for a communication headset in advance to facilitate contact with everyone in the Avengers later. If the enemy is only this strong, no matter how many there are, they can't break my crystal wall, but it's hard to say about the range. I can't continue to expand it, but if I want to defend the entire New York, it's probably unlikely. It's already very powerful. Black Widow praised calmly, but the corners of her mouth were obviously raised. Barton turned his head helplessly and looked at Black Widow. He obviously had some complaints about her condition. He knew Black Widow too well and knew that some signs had arisen in her heart, but for some reason, he did not believe that Lazia would sincerely accept Black Widow. Understood. The captain nodded, no longer entangled in this issue, and continued to study the situation on the battlefield. In this case, Stark, we will attract the enemy's attention separately and prevent them from bypassing the crystal wall. After a pause, Captain America changed the channel and asked, Commander, how is the evacuation of civilians on the ground going? In this kind of battle where the battlefield appears in human gathering areas, the most unlucky ones are always civilians. Fury was arguing with the people of the Security Council. The task of evacuating nearby civilians was coordinated by Hill, the commander of the Sky Carrier, and this work had started half an hour ago. The evacuation work is still in progress. People in nearby buildings are evacuating to the basement and subway. It is estimated that it will take more than 10 minutes to completely clear the surrounding buildings. Got it? Captain America hung up and returned to the Avengers dedicated channel. We still need to hold on for more than 10 minutes. Then release the crystal wall and enter the street fight. There are more and more enemies, and we can't put them further away. As an experienced battlefield veteran, Captain America's thinking is still very clear. Since the crystal wall cannot be extended to the extent of defending the entire New York, the enemy cannot be allowed to bypass infinitely. The expansion of the battlefield area will only put the Avengers, who are sparsely staffed, into a dilemma. Dragging the enemy into street fighting and using space to exchange time is the most reasonable way for them to fight. Got it. Iron Man in the air put away his attack posture and turned his body to quickly enter high-speed flight mode. Tony quickly used his speed advantage to start circling in the air with the pursuers. After a while, he attracted the attention of some enemies who wanted to bypass, and pulled a long train behind him. Under the precise control of Hawkeye and Black Widow, the Quinjet fighter completed a round of shooting and started to drive a train in another direction. It's a pity that Thor was busy fighting with Loki at this time. Otherwise, a large area of AO thunder magic would have caused everyone's experience bar to rise wildly. The magician group monster is the king. What a rare monster siege scene. Lazia, who was watching the battle between the two, came to a helpless conclusion that Thor really loved Loki. A powerful high-explosive warrior approached the weak chicken mage, and fought for a long time without knocking off a drop of the mage's blood. You think this is a safe zone, and I'm playing a joke on you. Showing affection in the wrong place. The current situation is that all the heroes on Earth are desperately resisting the alien invasion and buying time for the evacuation of civilians, while Thor, who is from Asgard and is known as the Guardian of the Earth, is busy being intimate with his younger brother. So, outsiders are always outsiders, no matter when. The ones who can really help you are your family, and the only one who can really make you strong is yourself. If you are not brave, who can be strong for you? Just like many failed writers, because of the low average subscription, they have no motivation to write. Who are they showing off? If you have the ability, you can update 10 chapters a day, and you can still get rid of poverty and become rich with an average subscription of 500. You are going a bit far. On this day when aliens come, who should the people of New York thank them most? It is undoubtedly the crystal fighter Zodiac. The seemingly weak golden crystal wall is like a natural moat, blocking thousands of alien soldiers in the sky, providing sufficient security for the evacuation of civilians, and also becoming an immortal light in their hearts. The Chitauri who fell on the crystal wall and changed their attack methods soon found a problem. Neither their physical attacks nor the energy guns in their hands could cause damage to the crystal wall, and all these attacks would be rebounded. The physical attacks that bounced back, or better, at most, they would bruise their joints, break their arms, etc., with limited destructive power, while those shot with energy guns were fun. The crystal wall is like a mirror. The energy column shot up will be reflected back by the mirror surface, forming a ricochet. It's not a vibrator. Thank you. For a single soldier, it doesn't matter if these energy attacks bounce back. As long as they are not directly at the feet, they will not bounce back to themselves. But when the number of soldiers increases, these reflected energies begin to become uncontrollable. Countless soldiers were shot through the arms, chests, and even heads by the rebound of others shooting. Of course, the most common place to be shot is the lower body. Who let this attack come from the feet? It's okay to be killed directly, because death is the end of everything. Many of the Chitauri soldiers who were hit by their companions but still able to move were annoyed, and even had the urge to point the muzzle directly at their comrades. After losing hundreds of soldiers, the Chitauri stopped this kind of self-destructive behavior without seeing the tree, to prevent the upcoming internal fighting losses. Since they can't break through or smash the crystal wall, they will go around it. The Chitauri also saw from Tony and the fighters' circling behavior that they didn't want to expand the scope of the battlefield, and decisively adjusted their tactics. Now the size of the space gate is not enough for larger combat units to pass through, so they will increase the number of individual soldiers. As the battle intentions were adjusted, the Z's soldiers on the crystal wall, along with the large army that had just emerged from the space gate, began to advance toward the area outside the crystal wall. Even the large army behind the two locomotives, Iron Man and the fighter jet, broke away and began to fly out. Obviously, Iron Man and the fighter jet failed to maintain aggro, so they were out. Guess how many chapters will be returned today? Chapter 196, Hammer Brother shows off his power. 1/10. Please subscribe. Frankly speaking, Zodiac misunderstood Thor. Although he loves his brother dearly, he also knows the priorities. This occasion is really not for them to show affection, and the reason why he pestered Loki was just to force him to stop the cosmic cube. As long as the cosmic cube can be stopped, the space gate will collapse without energy support, and the so-called alien invasion will be fundamentally disintegrated. So although Thor is a little bit stupid, his thinking is still very clear at this time. It's just that he overestimates his position in Loki's heart. If Loki would change his mind and give up his ambition to rule the earth and counterattack Asgard after a few loving caresses and fists from Thor, he would not be the bastard who deliberately pitted his father and brother and took human lives as a joke. Faced with Thor's sincere request, Loki shook his head. It's too late. It's too late to stop it. No, it's not too late. As long as the two of us are together, we are not afraid of any difficulties. Thor looked at Loki affectionately like the male protagonist of a Kaya drama, and the tenderness in his eyes was about to overflow, just short of singing a song. Love and righteousness are worth 1,000 gold. So what if we have to go through the knife mountain and the oil pan? Unfortunately, Loki is not Stephen Chow. Not only did he turn a deaf ear to Thor's deep affection, he also inserted a dagger into Thor's waist without hesitation. Thor was finally angry when a hard object entered his body. No matter how naughty you were before, I spoiled you and let you go, because I thought that even if you were rebellious, you would have a bottom line. But now you actually stabbed me with a knife. Do you know that this knife is inserted into my waist, but it is my little heart that really hurts? Loki hurt Thor and laughed it off. You are just a woman's kindness. Even if this place is destroyed, what does it matter? I say to you, boom. A heavy punch hit Loki's stomach, and the intense pain and nausea surged up, turning Loki into a shrimp in an instant, lying on the ground for a long time without getting up. My God, you finally got the heart to beat this naughty kid. Zodiac, who was standing next to him, couldn't bear to watch it any longer. If they really fought earlier, it would be over sooner. Is it fun to waste so much effort? Lazia naturally knew the method that Thor wanted to know to close the space gate. The cosmic cube would spontaneously open the protective shield to resist external attacks, but it could not stop the Mind Scepter, which also had an Infinity Stone as its core. The scepter could break through the cosmic cube's protective shield, disintegrate the steady-state structure of the device, destroy the working environment, and the device would naturally stop, and the space gate would be closed. It's just that this method will be known in the end, but the person who said it will definitely not be Lazia. The Mantis Shrimp airship hasn't come out yet. Now that the portal is closed, what can humans get? The Zeta's soldiers are just remote-controlled toys. Are you going to keep a bunch of remote-controlled toys without remote controls as ornaments? Thor pulled out a dagger stuck in his body and looked at Lazia apologetically. I'm sorry to have embarrassed you. Lazia shook her head. I know everyone has some inseparable ties in their hearts. But, Lazia pointed at the Chitauri army above her head that was beginning to spread out. But now is not the time for us to chat. They need you to take a shot. Can you do it? Thor looked up and said, Of course you can. Lazia asked in the channel. Hill, how is the evacuation going? It will take about 5 minutes. 5 minutes, that's enough. Switching channels, Lazia shouted directly. Tony, Captain, you guys go down and evacuate the battlefield first to make room for Thor to prevent accidental injuries. Let's take care of this wave first. Without Lazia's reminder, the two knew what to do next. The originally clear sky suddenly became overcast. From the rolling clouds, thick lightning meandered down and hit Thor's hammer that had already flown to the top of the Empire State Building. A strong electric current meandered down the surface of the building, like countless electric snakes entwined around it. Iron Man and the fighter jets began to evacuate quickly, and the crystal wall in the sky suddenly disappeared. Amid the deafening lightning and thunder, countless electric snakes rushed out of Thor's hammer and meandered into the sky. Within the range of sight, all the Zeta soldiers were swallowed by the electric snakes, and the army of thousands of people was destroyed in an instant. In the United Nations building, T'Challa silently let go of his hand. With his current level of training, even if he wore a battle armor made of special materials, he would be a mess if he ran into that thundering guy. His father's decision not to let him go out was right, because the battle armor did not belong to him. The Crown Prince, and the current owner of the battle armor was already old. Zusan, who was next to him, silently took a picture of the scene just now with his mobile phone and clicked send, and then began to edit the message. You too, a nervous voice came from behind. We are about to enter the danger zone. We need to evacuate immediately. They were basically the last group of people to evacuate underground. After hearing this, the two looked out the window and evacuated quickly. Since they could not help the fighters outside, they could not stay and cause trouble. After a large-scale lightning forbidden spell was used, the sky became clear. Under the clear sky, the bodies of the Chitauri fell to the ground like raindrops. Fortunately, there were basically no pedestrians on the ground, and no casualties were caused. After using the big move with his injured body, Thor fell to the ground with some exhaustion and joined the captain and others who got off the fighter. Everyone looked up at the dark hole in the sky and was ready for the enemy who was about to appear again. Tutu. On the empty street, a small sheep slowly drove over. At such a tense moment, I really admire Banner for being able to endure the slow speed of the small sheep, which was like an old man taking a walk. It seems that the situation is quite serious. Banner greeted everyone with some embarrassment. Believe me, I've seen worse times, Black Widow gently said. Previously, on the space carrier, when Banner transformed into the Hulk, Black Widow was the first person to attract his hatred. Sorry, friends, now is not the time to apologize. Something new is coming. Lazia's voice came from the headset, and everyone looked up at the space gate in the sky. A huge monster with a width of 20 to 30 meters came out. This prehistoric beast-like big guy has sharp teeth and heavy armor like rocks. The bone spurs on both sides of the body support the amputee-like body like wings, and it seems to be slow in the air, but it is actually very fast. Dear audience, are you ready with your knives and forks? The big mantis shrimp is coming. Lazia's voice in the headset made everyone smile. This description is really magical. The first supplementary chapter is released. If I write 10 chapters a day, I'm afraid that I will have a life to earn the manuscript fee, but I won't be able to spend it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197 Close Combat, 2/10 subscription request. Although Lazai's words were funny, in fact, no one knew how to fight a prehistoric monster that was 20 to 30 meters wide and more than 100 meters long. Of the people on the ground, Black Widow was not suitable for charging into battle. Her best fighting skill was to tangle with people, but an ant obviously had no place to put its legs when it wanted to tangle with an elephant. Captain America was used to charging into battle, but even if the director was bold enough to force him to play more scenes, he would not dare to let him fight this monster 50-50. Did he really think the audience was mentally retarded? Hawkeye's arrows came in many types, and they had destructive power, but it was not enough. Unless they could hit the key core parts, it would be difficult to play a fatal role. Iron Man was stronger than Hawkeye, but it was also limited. In addition to using the reactor on his chest to open the big move regardless of energy, his conventional ammunition could hardly hurt the huge monster. Thor's Thunder Hammer was naturally not afraid of the shrimp, but he was injured and had just used the big move, so he was still recovering. He could not be of much use for a while, and could only be a standing unit on the ground, but there was no problem in self-protection. The only one who could cause damage to the big shrimp was Banner, who had not yet transformed. The scene in the movie where Hulk knocked over a shrimp airship with one punch was quite shocking. Unfortunately, Hulk was a ground force and needed Iron Man to pull the monster for him. If the enemy's flying height exceeded his jumping range, he could not reach it. What's more terrible is that there was not only one shrimp airship flying down, but in a moment, 3 airships had already flown down accompanied by countless secret small aircraft. And in this space gate that has been stabilized, I don't know how many airships are waiting in line to go online. Since they want to invade a planet, there will definitely not be only a few of them. The number will be more than 10 times, and it may even be multiplied by 100. Such a huge number is really not something that the Avengers can stop. Captain America tapped the headset. Lazai, is the crystal wall still usable? Can it stop these big guys? It should be able to stop it. Lazai paused. But don't you plan to have some fun with these things? Tony rolled his eyes. Are you sure you want to play with something so big? They are not beauties. They don't have big breasts or beautiful legs. What's fun about them? Haha. Lazai smiled. I just want to say that these big guys are not that scary. Everyone don't have to worry. Let me show you a sample first. By the way, have you heard of the Sure-Kill Dragon Sword? What? Everyone was wondering, and saw a green dragon rising into the sky from the top of the Stark building, rushing towards the airship in the air with an unstoppable momentum. The airship was like a living creature, and when it saw the flying dragon, it howled and bit it without fear of death. If someone could see the look in the dragon's eyes at this time, it would definitely be disdain. Facing the airship, the dragon went straight through without a pause, until it pierced all 3 shrimps, and then roared and disappeared into the sky. Boom! 3 giant monsters exploded in the air, and parts and Chitauri corpses flew everywhere. Dragon Warrior reappeared in New York, but unfortunately T'Challa didn't see it. How is it? This attack is not bad. Hulazai's voice was a little breathless. The use of Lushan Shenlongba's blood flow reversed throughout the body. Even if you are used to it, it will still put a certain burden on the body. When Shenlongba penetrated the 3 airships, the surrounding small aircraft took the opportunity to rush down. This time there was no crystal wall to block them, and they quickly approached the ground. Lazai did not use the crystal wall to block their attack again. The destructive power of the crystal wall was not enough. As long as the Chitauri did not actively attack the crystal wall, Lazai had no way to deal with them. Besides, the nearby blocks had basically been evacuated anyway, and they could enter the street fighting mode. Just let them down to fight. It would be bad to let them scatter and detour to a distance. Looking at the swooping enemies, Captain America tightened the shield in his hand. "Guys, it's our turn." Everyone nodded, and under the command of Captain America, they quickly entered the combat method they were good at. Barton, find the commanding height, monitor and report the enemy's routes and divisions. Starquill, hold the blockade in the air. Any enemy that crosses 3 blocks must either rush back or be eliminated. On the other side of the headset, Lazia shrugged and said to Loki, who was lying on the ground, "Although we are comrades in arms, I still don't believe that Iron Man can hold the defense line alone. After all, the number of enemies is too large. What do you think, Loki?" Ugh. Thor was really pissed off. Loki hasn't recovered from this punch yet. Barton took a ride with Iron Man to the commanding height, while Iron Man flew into the air and began to clear the enemies who left the defense area. "Thor, you take a breath first, and then give them a big surprise later." Captain America pressed the headset. "Lazia, how are you? Is the dragon sword still usable?" Everyone knew that the dragon sword was a joke from Lazia, and only Captain America took it seriously. "Anytime," Lazia replied with a smile. "Okay, Agent Romanov and I will be responsible for clearing the enemies that have fallen to the ground. You focus on the portal. If there are a large number of enemies or airships like the one just now that break in, kill them." The last person left was Hulk. Hearing the shout, Hulk turned his head and looked like he was going to beat Captain America. Captain America obviously paused for a moment, knowing that Hulk, who basically relied on the instincts of a beast in battle, was not something he could command with his tactics, so he simply let him go. "Have fun." Hulk grinned evilly, then stepped on his feet and soared into the sky like a cannonball, and then started a happy wall-smashing game like Ralph and Wreck-It Ralph. While smashing, he muttered, 80, 80, 80. I wonder how much psychological trauma the Chitauri who were smashed into the wall felt. By the way, the so-called evil smile is just Hulk's usual smile, not just for Black Widow. The Zetamini soldiers in the flying vehicles have already rushed to the ground, and the two sides have officially entered into hand-to-hand combat. 7 people against an army of thousands of people. This unequal battle from the beginning did not make everyone feel frustrated. Since the other side is an enemy, there is no need to hesitate or be afraid, just do it. Before Thor recovers, Lazia will be responsible for dealing with the airship that appeared in the space gate, and the others only need to deal with those individual soldiers. It's not that Lazia doesn't want to help deal with the individual soldiers, it's really that the continuous and frequent use of Shenlongba has put a lot of strain on the body, and he needs some time to recover. The second supplementary chapter. Please recommend votes. You don't have to give monthly votes, it's useless for me anyway. Chapter 198, Ants Swallowing Elephants, 3/10. Please subscribe. It has to be said that it is still very good to see superheroes fighting against ordinary soldiers. Needless to say, Iron Man has a built-in flying function, and his body is covered with high-tech weapons made of money. He is simply smashing the enemy with US dollars. The juggling like flying and scattering barrage attacks are dazzling, and people can't help but want to applaud him. On the ground, there is also a juggler who is holding a round shield and constantly throwing, catapulting, jumping and catching it, then somersaulting back in the air 3.5 turns 180 degrees and landing heroically, and then repeating the above actions again and again after landing. Although the damage caused by Captain America is not as great as that caused by Iron Man, the difficulty of the action is not weak at all. Hawkeye is obviously a short-legged archer, so he can only stand on a high place and use his various styles of arrows to shoot the Chitauri in the air. In addition to the different light and shadow effects of various arrows, Barton also interprets the pride of an archer to the fullest. Whether it is the leisurely posture of directing Tony's route while chatting, or the free and easy spirit of shooting without raising his head and hitting every arrow, it reveals a strong sense of pretentiousness. That's right, if a mortal archer doesn't pretend to be a little bit cool, how can he get along in such a super team? Compared with Hawkeye's pretentious look, another ordinary person who fights with his body, Black Widow, is a bit miserable. We have mentioned countless times in the previous article that Black Widow's fighting method is to roll with arms, roll with thighs, and roll with OO. This kind of fighting technique looks very pleasing to the eye in the movie, There are even many times when we will ignore the fact that the person doing the difficult action is actually a male stuntman, and imagine that we are the one being rolled by Black Widow. Don't rush to deny it. Black Widow's bath water is scrambled to drink. If she is really rolled, won't she be excited to draw her gun? But now the Black Widow is fighting some bone sticks with bodies as hard as stone and wearing hard armor. Would it be comfortable to fight these things with your flesh? Moreover, every time Black Widow kills a Chitauri soldier, she has to fight the owner's neck first, fix his body, then throw her arms, use the knife in her hand to stab into the opponent's eye socket, and then turn it so that the whole eyeball is crushed. After a whole set of actions, not only is it laborious and time-consuming, but it may not kill the opponent. In comparison, although Thor's face is a little ugly, he has a good foundation. After all, he is very good at using a sledgehammer. Those Chitauri soldiers who make Black Widow's legs difficult are like paper in front of Thor. Every time he hits, it is a piece of human head. If you don't know, you will think he is playing the game of Wush Wang mowing the grass. And Hulk, well, there is no need to elaborate on Hulk. He is a demolition bulldozer. Wherever he goes, he smashes, leaving behind a piece of rubble and enemy corpses. There is nothing to say except worship. On the rooftop of Star Tower, Zodiac just fired a Shiryu and stopped to breathe heavily. In a short period of time, he had fired 7 Shiryu in a row, knocking down more than 20 Chitauri airships. The price of being a 7-time hero is a pale face and a body that looks like it's about to fall down at any time. How many mantis shrimps are there? Don't the Chitauri know how to feel sorry? So many airships must cost a lot of money. After half a day, Zodiac has figured out one thing. This is the real world, not a movie. In the movie, there may not be so many airships due to funding issues, and a few of them are enough. But this is the real world. In the real world, if you want to invade a planet, dozens of airships that are hundreds of meters long are not enough, and there must be more later. Loki finally recovered from the stomach cramps. He rubbed his stomach and stood aside, sneering at Zodiac's statement. Humphrey, if we can get the cosmic cube, even if we lose a lot of soldiers, the king of the Chitauri won't frown. Is it so perverted? You don't take human life seriously. Zodiac looked at Loki's stomach, thinking whether to go up and hit him again. Loki, who was standing there calmly, felt uncomfortable no matter how he looked at him. Haha, is this called perversion? You haven't seen anything more perverted. Loki tentatively moved to the edge of the building. Zodiac seemed not to see Loki's little move. Do the Chitauri really think that they can conquer the earth with just these miscellaneous soldiers? You have to know one thing. No matter how many miscellaneous soldiers there are, they are just miscellaneous soldiers. Really? I've heard the saying that ants can kill elephants. Not to mention that you are not elephants. At most you are just bugs that are slightly larger than ants. Ouch. There was a howl above my head, and another new mantis shrimp airship emerged and rushed down. Zodiac sighed and clenched his fists, and Shang Longbow was ready to go. In fact, although the current situation seems to have entered a balanced stage, the 7 people divided the work and cooperated to kill all the invading Chitauri on the spot. But in fact, the Avengers and Zodiac have completely fallen into a passive position. Although the invading Chitauri are all low-level soldiers, they are a fearless army, and because of the existence of a certain remote control mechanism, they don't have to worry about the problem of collapse caused by more than 30% of casualties. Compared with the Avengers, whose physical strength will decline, their will weaken, and the number difference is huge. The Chitauri are almost endless, and they never know fatigue, fear, or retreat. Such an enemy with almost no emotions except charging is the most terrifying. Although the Chitauri are far less crazy than the vanguard of Avengers 3, it is enough to drag down several people. It won't be long before Iron Man uses up all his ammunition and energy, and Hawkeye's arrows run out. Captain America and Black Widow's physical strength will decline, and they can only survive under Thor's cover. Thor hasn't recovered enough to use a large-scale AO skill for such a long time, which shows that Loki's damage to him is quite serious. The only one who is active on the battlefield and not tired is Hulk, but his uncontrollable behavior doesn't play a big role at all. Loki believes that he has seen the reality of the battlefield and is sure that victory will belong to him. When Lazai raised his head to deal with the newly appeared shrimp airship, Loki, who had moved to the side of the building, turned sideways and jumped downstairs. Under the building, a Chitauri aircraft was heading here. According to Loki's strict physical dynamics calculations, he would land steadily on the cockpit behind the aircraft. However, things are unpredictable. Just when the aircraft was about to fly under Loki, a white thread suddenly shot up from below, stuck to the bottom of the aircraft, and dragged it off its original flight path. Loki was stunned. WTF? Unknowingly, it's Chapter 200. Chapter 199 continue to be elegant. Where did the stringy sticky stuff come from in broad daylight? Loki began his free fall between the buildings with doubts and regrets. Thor didn't need to prove whether the Asgardians' bodies could withstand the impact of falling from a high altitude. Loki could experience it himself. Whoosh! Suddenly, another white silk flew over from the side and directly wrapped around Loki, holding back his falling momentum. Loki hit the wall like a big pendulum, and his head was a little dazed. Why did you save him? Two Spider-Men, one white and one blue and red, appeared above the building. The white Gwen asked in confusion while jumping upstairs. Behind her, Parker looked at Loki in his hand and said, "This man is the enemy's commander." Didn't Zaya say that he couldn't be out of sight? He would be smashed into a meat paste if he fell down. Does it matter whether he is out of sight or not? Gwen replied. She was not a cold-blooded person, but she could not have any sympathy for villains like Loki. After jumping onto the roof, Gwen saw Lazai greeting her. Loki thought Lazai didn't notice his little move, but he didn't know that Lazai had already sensed the arrival of Gwen and Parker. Wait. Lazai waved her hand to stop Gwen from jumping over to her. It's wartime now. We should restrain our emotions a little. Okay. Gwen suddenly jumped to the side after landing, avoiding the attack from the sky, then raised her hand and shot out a spider silk, grabbing the Chitauri pilot on a flying aircraft. You guys ruined my date. You all go to hell. Gwen pulled hard, and the Chitauri pilot was directly taken off the aircraft. The aircraft without the pilot flew crookedly in the air for a short distance, and then collided with the oncoming aircraft with a bang. However, this was not over yet. Gwen pulled the spider silk and used the pilot as a meteor hammer to dance in the air. In a series of explosions, 5 or 6 aircraft were destroyed. Gwen clapped her hands in satisfaction with her masterpiece. She looked back and saw Lazia's surprised eyes. She immediately became a little shy. Well, am I a little too violent? Lazia's mouth trembled. Actually, I'm not like that. Gwen lowered her head shyly. I can change it, but, I like it. Lazia smiled and grinned. This is a battlefield. Gwen, who is a little violent, at least doesn't need to be protected. Gwen breathed a sigh of relief and spread her hands. Actually, I'm a gentle girl. In a battlefield like this. Be careful. Gwen kicked her feet and her body whizzed past Lazia's position. She punched the face of the Chitauri who was behind him and preparing to attack into her chest. Lazia smiled and gave Gwen a thumbs up. Please continue to be gentle and elegant. I love this feeling. Plop. Loki, who was wrapped in spider silk, was thrown aside. Parker jumped up from outside and waved to say hello. Hi, Zaya. We're here. In the sky, a blue electric current suddenly meandered, and wherever it passed, the Chitauri aircraft exploded one after another. Max's blue body appeared in the current. It took some time to go to the power plant to charge. It shouldn't be too late. Outside the battlefield, Harry rode on the Green Goblin skateboard and flew to Iron Man. Mr. Stark, do you need help? On the ground, Black Widow had just killed a Chitauri soldier who was close to her, and a flying machine flew over close to the ground. Black Widow quickly dodged it with an iron bridge. When she stood up and was about to attack, she saw a woman in a black tight combat uniform jumped up and punched the flying machine. The flying machine was knocked to one side and hit the building next to it, causing a violent explosion. When Jessica Jones's face sank, it was super fierce. High up, Barton touched the quiver that had been empty, and his brows frowned inadvertently. Without arrows, he, the archer, became a complete decoration. The door next to him was suddenly pushed open. Barton nervously pointed his bow at the door, but saw a tall woman carrying two large boxes out and dropping them on the ground. Wang Bingbing opened the boxes without saying a word. The two boxes were full of arrow shafts, and behind her was a large steel crossbow. Barton took out a bundle of arrow shafts of the same model as his own from the box, nodded and stuffed them into the quiver behind him. "What's your name?" Wang Bingbing raised the crossbow and put a quiver on it. Aida Wang. The Zodiac Guardian team had all arrived, injecting a fresh vitality into the Avengers who were already showing signs of fatigue. Wang Bingbing not only supplemented Barton's firepower, but also his excellent combat awareness could help Barton better grasp the enemy's dynamics and guide the Iron Man and the Green Goblin on the periphery to the right route. Harry's Green Goblin skateboard was not much less flexible than Iron Man. With the cooperation of the two, the crossed flight routes and firepower network, plus the addition of Max the Electric Man, the battlefield blockade line could be said to be impregnable. On the battlefield, Gwen and Parker used Spider-Man's unique fighting style to become the nightmare of aerial vehicles. The spider webs and spider silk between buildings that appeared from time to time made flying several times more difficult. In order to avoid the spider silk, the pilot had to fly the aircraft like an airshow, turning left 3 times, right 3 times, and then turning around 3 times. The gun-wielding soldiers in the attack position behind him were thankful that they could ensure that they would not be thrown off, let alone attack. Black Widow and Jessica Jones cooperated with Captain America to happily clean up the enemies on the ground. Thor also completed a round of recovery and flew to the top of the Empire State Building, ready to give another world-destroying thunder. On the Stark Building, the scene returned to the scene where Lazai was standing and Loki was lying, but this time, Loki was not Ors, but was entangled in spider silk like a maggot. "Hey, Mr. Maggot," Lazai did not hesitate to use her venom and ridicule. "Are you satisfied with our Earthlings' counterattack?" Loki gave up the futile idea of getting up and simply collapsed on the ground. "There is no difference between 10 bedbugs and 5 bedbugs. Why don't you understand that your opponent is an army?" Haha. Lazai laughed. "Mr. Loki, did you misunderstand something? We sent out superheroes to fight against the alien invasion just because we are relatively free. Do you think there is no army on Earth?" Chapter 200 Total War. Throughout the entire Avengers 1, New York was almost razed to the ground, and countless civilians were killed and injured. However, in the end, it was basically the Avengers superheroes who fought. Where did the army go? Throughout the battle, there were very few shots of the army. There were only 2 armored vehicles and less than 2-digit soldiers at the Grand Central Station on 42nd Street, and they were just playing a supporting role throughout the whole process. Didn't the US military claim to fight all over the world in 1 hour? Where did their rapid response force go? Or was it cut out during the filming to show the bravery of superheroes and save money? Lazai didn't know the truth of that world, but in the world he was in now, the army did appear. After all, superheroes are not in an advantageous position in terms of numbers, and the only army that can completely destroy an army is another army. Because of the early evacuation of the people and the activeness of Saint Lazai, until this time, the board of directors behind SHIELD did not issue an order to launch a nuclear bomb. In fact, this is the normal practice, the behavior of planting mushrooms when there is a disagreement in the movie, and planting them in Manhattan, where the United Nations headquarters is located, and in New York, the most prosperous city in the world, is unreasonable no matter how you look at it. Planting mushrooms before the troops go up to fight, I have no idea what they are trying to achieve. Sacrifice their lives for justice? They must be crazy. Since the whole city is to be sacrificed, why not send troops to join the battle like in Transformers? No matter how bad the battle is, it is much better than letting a city be buried with it. Either the council has been controlled by Hydra, so it made the decision to clean up the situation, or the council did not think about really nuking New York when it made this decision from the beginning, but was playing a big game. But with the author's brain, I really can't think of what chess must be played like this. In short, under the coordination of the council and the US military and other parties, the Army, Navy and Air Force entered the battlefield one after another, and New York has entered a state of full-scale war. Lazai raised her chin towards Loki. You want a war, don't you? Then we'll give you a war. Open your eyes and see who is the maggot and who is the stink bug. Hey, something seems strange. In the air, dozens of fighter formations composed of Raptor and Lightning II roared past, and the barrage of bullets made the Chitauri's aircraft explode and fall in the air. On the ground, armored vehicles and tanks also rushed in along the road, followed by teams of soldiers with live ammunition, attacking the Chitauri troops on the ground. As the troops entered, the number of casualties of the Chitauri began to increase significantly. Without civilians as a threat, they could only fight the army head-on, and then they were destroyed by the concentrated fire of guns that outnumbered them by several times. Dr. Selvig, who had fainted on the side, also woke up at this time. The collision just now made him release the control state, and his eyes became clear again. "Good morning, Doctor," Lazia greeted cheerfully. The battle situation was basically stable. The only thing left was to see how many Chitauri would die on Earth. However, Selvig was not as optimistic as Lazia. He looked up at the space gate in the sky, and the first thing Selvig said was, "We have to close it." Lazia shook his head. "We must close it, but not now. We haven't played yet." "Listen to me." Selvig's emotions suddenly got out of control. "This space gate is not as simple as you think, and you have to know that there is a fleet on the other side of the gate." Lazia's eyebrows jumped, and he suddenly felt something was wrong. "A fleet? So, they can't get through anyway. It will get bigger." Selvig stared at the space gate. "The size of the gate will get bigger, and when it is big enough for a spaceship to pass through, we will be in real danger." Lazia looked down at Loki, but found that the faint smile on his lips was gone. "I see. No wonder Loki still didn't care when the invading Chitauri were beaten like this. No wonder he dared to attack the Earth with the shrimp airship and the Chitauri soldiers when he knew the military strength of the Earth and the existence of superheroes. It turned out that these were just illusions, a means to confuse the people of Earth. His real trump card was the crab spaceship that Iron Man saw after passing through the space gate in the movie. All along, Lazia had been misled by the plot in the movie, thinking that after killing these shrimps, the remaining Chitauri would be a group of lambs to be slaughtered, but he never thought that the opponent's crab spaceship would directly pass through the space gate to attack the Earth. If Loki really succeeded, then Avengers would probably become Independence Day. Lazia couldn't imagine how strong the firepower of the crab spaceship that Tony carried a nuclear bomb to blow up in the movie was, and he didn't want to know. Anyway, he understood one thing. As long as the spaceship came, New York would definitely be finished. Although this is a welcome thing for many people, this is something Lazia does not want to see. Because he is a Saint Seiya, his duty is to protect the Earth. Loki's face finally changed. No matter how Lazia laughed at him and humiliated him before, he didn't care, because compared with what he had to accomplish, that little humiliation was nothing. But now because of Selvig's words, his plan is going to be completely ruined. How can he not be angry? He is an Asgardian who claims to be a god. In his eyes, all the Earthlings are idiots and ants. How can he be willing to be defeated by stupid ants? Lazia looked up at the space gate in the air and found that it had just grown bigger. At the beginning, the 3 Mantis shrimp airships had to line up to pass through. Now they are still queuing, but the space has expanded enough for 2 airships to pass side by side. Who said that the Chitauri are a group of brainless idiots? Can idiots develop into a cosmic civilization? Selvig looked at the mind scepter in Lazia's hand. Although I was controlled by him, my mind was not completely chaotic. I roughly knew what I was doing, so I left a back door for the device, which is a safety device that can cut off the energy source. Lazia looked at the scepter in his hand, and then at the portal in the sky, and felt a little bit sorry. After all, there are not many opportunities for aliens to come to Earth from thousands of miles away to deliver technology, equipment, and materials. However, for the safety of the Earth, no matter how regrettable it is, the door must be closed. Of course, Lazia would definitely not be willing to close it like this. Mr. Director, are you online? Lazia tapped the headset. Soon, Fury's voice came from the other side. I'm here. After explaining Selvig's situation, Lazia gave Fury some time to digest the information. and then continued. If I close the space door like this, I think it's impolite no matter how I think about it. So, before saying goodbye, how about giving some gifts to our alien friends? What do you mean, little boy or fat man? Lazia said with a smile. During World War II, the 2 atomic bombs dropped by the U.S. military on Hiroshima and Nagasaki were named Little Boy and Fat Man respectively. Anyway, in the movie, a nuclear bomb was used to send off the Chitauri at the end. Lazia didn't want her gift to be too light. Fury pondered for a moment. We are indeed not ready to fight a space war. In this case, let's send these uninvited aliens back home. I will arrange it now. Thank you Yezebotao for the reward. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.